Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2023 Acer High School Cup, the Summer Series brought to you by Acer Predator. And of course, I'm not alone, joined by my lovely friend Racquetz. How are you?
Hello, mate. Good to see you again, TwoTap. It's been a while, mate, but we vibing. We have a nice Overwatch themed coffee. Check this out. Look, it has a Overwatch symbol at the back. It's too bright, you can't actually see it, but believe it or not, yeah, you can barely see it. There's an Overwatch symbol to celebrate the game that's going to be on stream.
Yeah, this is going to be an exciting thing. Of course, the High School Cup is back. The High School Summer Series, powered by Acer Predator. And of course, Acer Australia, the presenting partner of the High School Summer Series, provide PC technologies solutions for all schooling needs in the classroom and at home. And, well, a few of these players, of course, playing from home, Acer's got them covered.
That's true. Very reliable. My very first computer was an Acer, so fun fact. There you go.
Very, very nice. Of course, you can see the lovely pump up there. Gear up today at acer.com. But of course, we've got some other sponsors as well, Racquetz.
We do indeed. So, second sponsor is Predator Gaming PC, who provides high-end gaming-focused PC solutions in both laptop and desktop formats, and powered by Intel. So, if you really want to amp it up with the gaming stuff, Predator is definitely the way to go.
Absolutely. But of course, as well, powering our lovely broadcast as well is the AOC monitors, the gaming monitor partner who provide the best in-class monitor solutions for gaming and all other needs. Whether you're, of course, at work, you're at school, you're at home, doing some gaming, doing some work, AOC definitely has you covered for that one.
And the Game on Cancer charity is the choice of AEL, who fund much needed cancer research with projects with leading to the AEL donation of portion of the students' participation to this life-saving cause. If you'd like to donate as well, you can head to the AEL Tiltify campaign page, and you can help support such a wonderful cause too.
And of course, a big shout out to our sponsors providing us the opportunity to do this high school summer series. And of course, taking a look at how it is all going about, we want to take a look at our schedule for you for these coming weeks, of course. And well, as you see, 11th of March today, and we will be seeing some Overwatch, SSBU, of course, and Rocket League. We'll be covering Overwatch here, of course, and then week 2, week 3, week 4, it all really comes to fruition. A lot of these teams, get to play out and play a lot of competition, Racquetz.
Yeah, be very fun. And as we can now see the tournament format, so as we can see, it's Swiss bracket in the stage 1 and the stage 2. There's the round robin, and once we get into the playoffs, which is the stage 3, teams compete in the bracket on the final week 4. So yeah, very competitive stuff there coming out for all of the teams. And now we're going to be taking a look at the competing schools.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams, of course, a lot of schools getting involved, and I believe a lot of schools having multiple teams in this competition. So it should be good. Maybe a little bit of friendly rivalry between some of the teams between some of these schools, and it should be interesting to see, of course, all of that unfold. But yeah, we've got a lot of heavy hitters in here. Heatherfield, Ripley, of course, a lot of schools getting involved, which is always great to see.
Very wholesome stuff. Love seeing that sort of friendly rivalry between schools. And yeah, we should be getting into games pretty soon, fellas. But yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to get into the games of Overwatch. I think not long ago we actually did have a patch too. So interesting to see how those would take effect. So we don't have any sort of restrictions on any of the heroes and stuff, so everyone's available. And yeah, it's just going to see what folks end up coming up with. And I'm pretty sure some tournaments have been happening in the meantime. We've been seeing a lot of different characters, so a lot of diversity, hopefully, and seeing the sort of different players, the different pop-offs we're going to see. I'm really keen to see it.
Yeah, it should be exciting. Of course, a lot of different things have been swapped up through patches and stuff. Of course, Ramacha is available, so we're keen to see whether a team opts for that. Of course, I've heard Kiriko also be very, very heavy favorite for some of these support players. So, it'll be interesting to see what these teams look to run composition-wise, because, of course, there's a lot of flexibility when it comes to Overwatch here.
It is. I mean, as a tank main myself, I'm actually a Doomfist one trick. There's my admission to TwoTapTony. So there you go, mate. You know, there goes all my credibility down the drain. No, but I think especially the tanks is really fun at the moment because when supports are really good, tanks tend to be really good too. So, I mean, whenever I've been queuing into comp recently, I've been seeing a whole ton of Reinhardt.
Ooh, yeah.
And for all of you fellas who have been playing since Overwatch 1, Reinhardt has always been like a sort of the face of the game, really, along with like Tracer. So he's finally getting his time in the sun as he deserves. So rejoice, Reinhardt mains with the hammer. But yeah, hopefully we're going to be seeing more of him too, because he's been absolutely terrorizing my rank games, and I can't play him. Mate. I don't know. You know when you just have that one character that you cannot play for the life of you? Reinhardt is that character for me.
Yeah, he's very hard to wheel, of course. Timing on the Earth Shatters as well is always a hard thing to look for. But yeah, of course, you know, you spoke a little bit about Overwatch 1, and of course, a lot of these players maybe have gotten their yards in Overwatch 1. You know, it's been a while since we've had that game. Of course, now Overwatch 2. And the meta's also shaked up quite a bit. Of course, 5 instead of 6 people on a team now. And, you know, it's interesting to see, of course, talking about the tank meta now that Ryan's back in. Used to be so focused on the dive, of course, your Divas, your Winstons, very, very much dive-heavy focus. But it's settled down a little bit here in Overwatch 2.
Yeah, it has settled down. And I think that's the good thing about Overwatch 2 and sort of getting rid of all those defensive abilities. I mean, Blizzard have said that they want sort of less CC and they want the game to be a little bit more snappy, quick. So I think they've achieved that. And dive definitely still is a thing, but not as bad as it was before. But lobby will be on very quickly, so we should be getting into the matches quite soon. So hold your horses, everyone. We're all just sort of shaking right now in anticipation of the match. But all right, let's. What do you reckon, Tony? What pick are we going to see from? Okay, let's do a little bit of a challenge. All right, here's our challenge between you and me. We need to pick both the DPS from both teams. Okay.
Ooh,
okay. And whoever wins will just have, I don't know.
We'll have a little trophy.
Whoever wins wins.
Whoever wins
Sure.
wins. Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, DPS is going to be an interesting. I definitely hope to see a Tracer. I very much love to see that one. You can be very flexible. You can, of course, teleport back. You can reposition. You can shake up a whole bunch of positions too. Maybe a bit of Pharah in the mix. We could see a few teams opt to go for a more aerial kind of play style. But yeah, definitely maybe Pharah Tracer for me. I'd hope to see.
Pharah Tracer. Okay. That's what I hope to see. So that's what you hope to see. Yeah. I would actually hope to see Pharah as well. Pharah's that overlapping thing there. But I think we're probably going to be seeing a bit of Reaper. I think May would actually like multiple picks for one pick. And look where we are at the first match. So those types of heroes we were just talking about could very well be a reality on a map like this. Very hectic. And oh yeah, Reaper. That is something that we needed to bring up too there, along with the Sojourn. I think that sort of has been a DPS combo for a while now because it's so good at sort of negating that main tank presence. And we'll see how that sort of pops out now. And one thing that has sort of been pretty good so far in the meta is the Mercy, so pocketing the Cassidy. Cassidy sort of come back as well, and both teams now outside of the spawn windows and getting ready to rumble.
Yeah, and I also want to touch on the Storm pick. Very much heavy output DPS. You can get a lot. You can charge up that rifle super quickly, and then of course go for those very quick snappy right clicks, and potentially one versus squishy target like the Kiriko, like the Mercy, like your Cassidy. Because you can see St. Francis Blue for the moment taking a little bit more of a better position here in the middle of the ground. You can see a few Symmetra turrets also being set up. And a good pin there onto the Orisa. Not going to quite find a mark. Horace will be able to find Juice.
So you can see that Symmetra damage doing so much against the Orisa, they're actually getting a decent amount of value. But this is sort of the harder part if you're playing Symmetra. You want to try and gain control of the point, but now she doesn't have the most protection in the world, but already she has the ultimate available at so much ult charge off that fight by herself, but is pushed off the map.
And you can see the Valkyrie popped by Pugnacious, trying to keep the team healthy and trying to keep them alive right now. St. Francis Blue staying alive at the moment, but of course SCC Gold pushing them off the mark at the moment. Delta just putting out so much damage with that rifle, and you can see a nice little charge shot. Juice is taken out, and St. Francis Blue, they're going to have to back off.
And we're already seeing a bit of an adaptation there from St. Francis Blue off the Symmetra, because that sort of first fight didn't end up going as well as they expected to, but now they have the Mei, so maybe looking for that Reinhardt sort of charge combo with the wall, see if they can pull that off. But at the same time, SCC Gold are in a pretty good position because they do have ultimates to use, and let's see how they can sort of invest in that with these fights.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. Nano, of course, at around 80%. You've got the Baptiste ult up. You've got the appear to have a disconnect.
That's a secret ultimate.
Yeah, secret ultimate, and we won't get to see. But of course, St. Francis Blue, hopefully we'll get that sorted. Very much a good start. I have to say, the Ryan coming in, being very oppressive there for the start, but then the Orisa found its mark. You've got the Sean hitting some good shots there, and SCC Gold really took that point early on.
Yeah, which is exactly what they wanted to do, right? Because I think in the opposition, when you have a Symmetra, the worst thing is when the Symmetra gains the point. So that means she has the advantage of setting up the turret. It's like sort of harder to get in. So SCC getting that sort of win earlier on is really massive for them, I think. And they're now into a fight. And ideally, with these type of things in King of the Hill, you don't really want to invest too many ultimates, right? You sort of want to use one, get away with it, and then see how you can push through with the remainder of the fights, especially if, you know, someone on the enemy team has ended up swapping over, so they have to reset a little bit of the ult charge there with the Symmetra pick to the Mei. But yeah, I mean, hopefully that sort of Reinhardt combo with the Mei ends up working out, because it is pretty infuriating to play against once it sort of is set up. But, you know, sometimes Mei can be a problem in that maybe the war can be to the detriment of your own team, but it could also be a very big upside as well. So let's see how that ends up swinging over.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see as we go back through the swing. Of course, Tommy getting taken low early on, Cassidy as well. Getting extremely low, beautiful Death Blossom there from Boris, just getting in the face with the cover of the Orisa, and it's a clean sweep. SCC Gold, the team kill to start that one off, and already at 50% charge there, 50% on the King of the Hill, and of ST Francis. They're gonna have to think about a different comp maybe.
Yeah, it looks like they're pondering right now, just sort of trying to think about how to approach this, because SCC Gold did a very good job only investing 2, and Orisa's ult isn't like the biggest investment in the world, right? It's a pretty low eco type ult. She'll get it pretty quick, but the Ramatra is out now there. So see how they end up utilizing that, ending up getting a pick at the start of the fight as well. So Oris is down on the Reaper.
See them pushing in. Contest going on. Steampunk taking the high ground here, trying to shoot out the Baptiste here, but we've still got the Shazorn. Full charge on that ultimate, looking to take out the Ramatra. Great little kill being found, but the Resurrection comes through. Great little Valkyrie being used by Pugnacious again, staying high and staying out of sight. SCC Gold. DJ Tommy getting some good shots into, trying to freeze up this Orisa, trying to get a pick back as we go into overtime. SCC Gold have a full charge here, and you want to see St. Francis really take the fight back, but some low HP bars being bumped down to extremely slither of HP, and there goes Delta in close range, dashes out to safety to the backside of his Orisa, and Ramatra's getting absolutely peppered down by Delta too.
So much damage from Delta on the Sojourn. That was a pretty good gameplay there, just diving in, making sure to get all the damage done possible. And pretty dominant first round there from SCC Gold, just had the point the whole time. And see how they can forward that momentum, and see if St. Francis Blue at the same time can come back. I mean, it's good that St. Francis Blue are sort of trying out different stuff, right? Sometimes teams are sort of like, you know, we can't really find a solution, we're just going to sort of stay on one thing and bash our heads up against the wall and see what sort of sticks. But I think St. Francis, they seem flexible enough so that they can try things and see how it works as well. I mean, it's fun for us spectators as well, right? We get to see the Ryan, the Ramatra, the Cassidy, the now Farah. This is something that you wanted to see as well, so there we go.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel this map especially, you want to be able to get some high shots in, especially with all the walls. You kind of can't really play a stock standard DPS where you're just aiming down sights. You want to take a little bit more height, you want to get a little bit more pepper damage across the entire SCC Gold side. But I have to say, and give props to Little Horde in that last one, very much playing that front tank role, soaking up all the damage for SCC Gold as they, you know, just peppered shots in the back line. They were able to get some good ones in. You can see Delta up top, getting some shots into the Baron Mercy combo, but of course TwoTapTony in the mix as well.
There we go. Was the pharmacy the answer? Looks like doing a bunch of damage here, pretty low, but the Ananade manages to sustain the rest of SCC Gold, and there we go, the healing comes out. Alpaca Blade and Paper ended up doing a very good job at surviving that whole fight there, despite so much damage coming out from TwoTapTony on the Pharah. But yeah, SCC Gold managed to survive that through, and I think this is really the thing, right, when it comes to Overwatch 2, getting the supports at the start is so incredibly useful, right? And even if you may get a pick or two at the start, the supports can just sustain through the damage, right, with the tank, and Little Horde and the Acer has just been so strong so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, props to Alpaca and Blank for staying out of sight and staying out of mind, and great little nanos and shots, and Blake Paper getting some damage. I think he had enough. His DPS to get all the spotlight, and well, Pug trying to get that res off, but it is going to be grenaded, taken out. Perfect from Boris, swapping it up to the Ash.
Wow. Oh yeah. That is I don't know why Dynamite kills every time I see them. They're quite funny. You know? It's just like a delayed, and it just looks very random. There's actually not very many DOTs in Overwatch, right? I think
no, I don't think
Dynamite's one of the few.
Yeah. TwoTapTony popping the hole.
The wall.
The wall comes up and blocks it completely. That's a rough one for TwoTapTony. That could have been a huge ultimate there in stopping SCC Gold from mounting this hold right now. You see Alpaca going high with the back tees, getting the shots in, gets some aerial combat, gets the Pharah down of a very crucial Pharah Mercy combo now. Valkyrie is popped by Pugnacious, and you can see that SCC Gold, they're just sitting pretty, they're sitting back, and they're waiting for SCT and Francis Blue to come to them, and some shots. Again, Delta going absolutely massive on this Dawn.
Absolutely massive indeed, and the Nano Burst is used as well because they know who the carry is in this situation. So much damage with Delta, and there we go, SCC Gold. That was in pretty fancy fashion. And let's see who gets play of the game. Maybe it's Delta, considering what we maybe saw. Oh no, it's Little Horde actually. Little Horde has basically been immortal this whole match. Was this a push off the map? There we go. That's what happened.
The Spear 2 just getting in the absolute work. Huge from Little Horde. I have to say, yeah, very good first point map there from the side of SCC Gold. And as we said, Little Horde showing that you can soak the damage, you can also deal it too, knocking off with a play of the game. A very, very interesting one to start off with SCC Gold, I have to say.
Yeah, it is. It was a very fun game to see. I like the Overwatch's priority for play of the games. Like, I reckon one push off the map is the equivalent of getting like 3 eliminations, you know? That's it. When everyone gets a push off the map, you know, Blizzard are just like, yep, we have to give this person play of the game immediately. As a Doomfist main, I appreciate that. And as a person who plays Lucio, well, I appreciate us getting some love with environmental eliminations. So yeah, I mean, but in all seriousness though, the Acer was absolutely immortal that game. And when you have a tank who just was always relentless and doesn't end up being eliminated, then especially with like an Acer, it is very difficult to deal with. And it all really comes out to getting the supports early on in the fights and getting the picks when needed, right? So I think that's the sort of key, maybe targeting a little bit differently there, but otherwise there were a few moments, and both teams actually were pretty entertaining with their swaps as well. So like, sometimes you see games and people just stick on the same comp all the time, but both teams were pretty fun with what they picked too.
Yeah, I definitely like to see the Pharah Mercy come out there, and unfortunately there for TwoTapTony, that ult just getting eaten by the wall. That could have been, well, the game-deciding play could have swapped up the momentum, and you could have saw a little bit more from St. Francis Blue there in that one. But of course, I want to start here for SCC Gold in the Swiss, and that's how they want to go here, I feel, Racquetz. You want to get those early maps in, you want to get those early wins in as much as possible when it comes to this Swiss.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the best thing I think is when you have momentum as a player, because I feel like you can just, it's easier to push through rather than to climb up the mountain. I think you truly see great teams when they recover and they fall down, but that's also much harder to do, right? So I guess when you get that first win, when you get the momentum going, it gives all of your sort of players a lot more confidence, and brings the vibe of the team up a lot more too. I mean, people sort of don't realize that, but the vibe of the team being like happy, you know, you're with your friends, you're winning, that could honestly be the difference between, you know, winning and losing sometimes. How you take like a loss in the game of Overwatch, because, you know, King of the Hill, it's pretty quick, right? The fights continuously go and go and go. If we're on like Escort or something, it's a little bit more slow paced. So maybe it's dependent on the sort of game type as well. Like some teams prefer that sort of more fast paced gameplay. Some of them like to be more slow and methodical. But yeah, I mean, either way, I guess we'll get to see more of that story.
Sometimes you sink or swim under the, of course, weight of it all. And it's going to be an interesting one, what we see for our map number 2. I believe it will be Blizzard World. Okay, so we've got a bit of a hybrid here, so it should be interesting to see how these teams fare going into the hybrid now from the King of the Hill. Of course, you can kind of see probably a different, more aggressive style being played out of some of these teams, or maybe a more defensive one. Maybe they go back to the Acer and of course kind of set up and set in place where they want to hold these chokes from.
Yeah, it's true, it's true. I mean, we did end up seeing Symmetra and May as well, right? So if you want to maybe pick those things on like the first point, try and get a full hold, that could be like a cheesy way of doing it. I mean, both teams are willing to swap and change depending for what like the situation was anyway. But I think Blizzard World is one of those maps where, I mean, it's actually one of my favorite maps. I think the map itself looks beautiful, but like gameplay wise, I think first point can be pretty telling sometimes. Some people opt to have that sort of more defensive style on defense, so you have that little perch where the little machine goes through. I haven't been the roller coaster, right? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, on the tracks. Some people just sort of stay up there and camp it out, and the folks on the attack, maybe they go for a dive to try and dislodge them. Maybe they go for like a Ryan and try to like go through the left side and like rotate onto point, not take a lot of damage. So it'll be cool to see like what they elect to do here. And honestly, maybe we even might see like a Pharah coming out from the attack too. But we do know that the Ashe on the other side was also an option. So both of these teams, they are putting it all on the table. And in a map like Blizzard World, what better way could you end up kicking things off?
Yeah, and it's also going to be interesting, Blizzard World, of course, having a lot of those very, very tight-knit corners. You're able to even hide behind, catch opponent off guard there, maybe even get a cheeky little Ryan pin just sitting in the corner with your teammates and just getting some cheese stuff in. Maybe we'll see that from these teams. But, of course, the game soon to come up, and I'm curious to see, as you alluded to, of course, the Pharah maybe coming through here for TwoTapTony again as we load on in. It's going to be SCC Gold to start off the attack here.
Ready for battle.
And see how they sort of set the pace as well. I wonder if that Sombra pick is going to end up going through. That'd be quite interesting. Sombra actually got a pretty significant buff this patch. So her hack can now interrupt Orissa's ultimate. So that is a pretty big buff for Sombra, because she's pretty good at taking down tanks, and that sort of makes her tank capability a lot better with cancelling, because she's very good at cancelling ultimates. That's one of her, like, her niches. So see if I mean, Delta had like an MVP performance last map as well, right? So with this type of character, I'm really curious. But St. Francis Blue, pretty defensive, right? They have the Bastion, they have like the sort of Mercy combo with the hit scan. Ramattra's probably one of the more like in-your-face type characters here. Let's see how that ends up ending out. And the ball, he's already in.
Oh yeah, I was just about to say that the ball pick from Little Horde's very interesting one is Boris. He's getting TP'd on the flank, already taking out the Cassidy, and well, the res is going to be forced out here. It's TwoTapTony actually going to be on the Mercy this time around as we quickly sort some things out, and we're back in, of course. Some shots coming out from Little Horde, who swapped straight back to the debuff off of a early ball pick, shows a little bit of presence, and then goes, you know what, I'm going to play deeper instead.
Yeah, they probably want to block out a lot of this Bastion damage and wanting to get through this choke. It's quite difficult to get through, especially of how close
TwoTapTony
St. Francis Blue are too. And look at that. Oh, they are eliminating them so quickly now. The hack coming out onto the Bastion. and the Mamatra would be one of the final ones to stand. Kariko, goodbye. Not going to be able to teleport out of that one. There's no teammates in the vicinity. And SCC Gold end up turning the whole game on its head already. That Diva pick, allowing them to sort of rotate through the choke there. And Delta getting some really nice hacks off as well.
Yeah, Delta has been playing absolutely huge this series so far, and well, you can already see St. Francis Blue also swapping up a few picks here. We see now going to be the Zarya and the Brigitte trying to soak up some of that early Diva damage, and of course maybe make some space as they try to hold this choke off of SCC Gold, trying to steal the time a little bit. Of course, SCC Gold did that so quickly, and in comes the Death Blossom again. Boris on this flank has been huge. It's a 4. He's looking for all 5. Boris, huge TP once again, just getting in the back. And St. Francis Blue not able to answer for these flanks that are happening.
Wowee. Where did Boris come from? That was a pretty good play of the game there. I'm just already calling it. It's got to be play of the game, right? I mean, surely nothing can top that. That was 5. See if anything can top that. That's a sort of mini game within this match, actually. So yeah, props to Boris. That was really good there.
Very huge. You can see looking for another fight here. The hack goes out. Delta gives his life the hack, but very huge. The damage now coming out. Steampunk trying to get some shots back. He does have the ultimate, but Boris up in the mix again with our backer, and they're just getting so much damage spread across. The power of his Divas soaking it all up. The Moon isn't going to do all too much for Boris now back on this flank. Nation swapped over to the Arista, but it's not going to matter. Another clean sweep, this time only losing 1 in the fray.
That is amazing. This DPS combo is so good. You have Delta softening them up for Boris. Little Horde giving the defense matrix to the Reaper as well, just running forward and eliminating the enemy so quickly of St. Francis Blue. This is just a decimation so far. Look how aggressive they are, pushing towards the spawn. The Bastion is inside of the sentry mode, retreating. See if it's going to survive or not. Nope.
Rose gets out. Here we go. Although Boris still up in the fray. And again, right in the face of Pooch. Going to back off. And, well, again, St. Francis Blue, they're just getting pushed at every single corner. SCC Gold, really oppressive style that they're going for.
Really aggressive when it comes to this, sort of pushing their advantages. Very good for them that they managed to start on the attack, because they're setting the pace right now, right? And still getting these picks, the Diva of Little Horde getting so much value. And Alpaca Blade on the Baptiste has done so much in terms of being the anti-air against the St. Francis Blue lineup, taking out the Pharah in the previous map too. The Kariko ultimate pushing forward of that as well. See how that ends up working out. There we go. And wow. Still have a lot of ultimates left in the tank too.
Yeah, and they still have a lot of time too. Even if they were to fall at this like final hurdle, they've got 4 more minutes on the clock, and it doesn't really seem to matter with Little Horde and the rest of the team pushing through, forcing them back into the spawn. Even a D-roll coming out, giving them the space, and it is going to explode onto TwoTapTony. Little Horde as well getting pugnacious, and Boris Johnson clean sweeping him again. SCC Gold, an outstanding first round here on Blizzard World.
0-3.
That is a very good first round for them, and considering their gameplay, the style that they've been going for, them attacking first, I think, sort of suited them in the situation. They want to set the pace, right? They want to be the aggressors, and they're not scared to go in with all of these picks as well, right? We didn't really see them play in the most defensive manner. The flank setup is really good as well. I like the flanks that Boris ended up going for on the Reaper, and yeah, St. Francis Blue on several times were sort of getting caught off guard, right? So I think it's important for them to take it as a learning experience and make sure that they're a little bit more on their toes. But at the same time, right, you're attacking now, so you're not going to be as susceptible to flanks anymore. And already we're seeing the sort of big difference from styles here, right? St. Francis Blue still looking at that more long-range type comp. They have the sort of double hit scan with the Reinhardt. They want to more slowly come onto the point. SCC Gold, a little bit more defensive considering what we've seen them through on the attack. The Sigma is something that we haven't seen so far in this series yet, but I think this will be Sigma's one of his best, especially on that top bit. See how that ends up panning out for him, but this is right in the matchup Reinhardt does fare pretty well, but at the same time the positioning for Sigma on this map is pretty strong too, so need to look out for that.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of heavy shield tanks that can kind of hold that choke a lot for both these sides, especially with Ryan's, with Diva, and now the Sigma coming out, getting in some good front with damage, destroying that shield, and of course Blank Paper with this high ground, able to heal up the squad here, get some good damage. Boris already finding first pick to start it off yet again.
Seeing if they can push through, or they're being a little bit more sensible. Oh no, the sleep ends up coming as well, and now they're cleaning up. Once they get one, they continue to push forward, and the Moira going to be a little bit difficult to escape there, but the health pack does come out through. Boris is not being too greedy, teleport. And St. Francis Blue, seeing if they can sort of rebuild, maybe wait for ultimate before they try to do something here, but the hits is keeping on coming, and Delta with the soldier, and once again, oh, there we go.
Oh, he's too clean with it. He's just getting so much damage off the three. Nobody's pretending to Delta in this corner right now, and then Pugnacious tries to get one back, but Delta's just pushing in. Boris again on this flank line, looking to drop into TwoTapTony too. Just they're getting starved to time here, Rack. You can see that it was 3 minutes just a minute ago, and now all of a sudden it starts to get to that 2:30 mark, and St. Francis, they start to worry a little bit.
That's what he would worry. Yeah, and I guess they just try to have to wait for ultimates, right? Maybe press the Q button and move forward, hope for the best in the situation, but they have swapped off the Reinhardt before. Is there answer the situation? That Blossom coming through, going to get a big one like last time. There we go. 2, still a good steal. Ending up getting the 3rd as well, and still cleanup crew is on the way, but yeah, St. Francis Blue, they don't really have any sort of big ultimates up at the moment. They elected to pick the ball and sort of play it a little bit more quickly, maybe taking a book out of SCC's book there. But see how that ends up panning out for them.
Ooh.
And this ends now. The Pokemon ultimate's activated.
Yeah, looking to snipe out the ball, who well, is trying to be a menace, just trying to cap it a little bit, get some percentage on the board. Anything St. Francis is after right now. Because we saw a few different picks as well, and a great little gravity lift here, little horde getting so much damage, and drops it out the rock. Few players low. Kiriko both keeping Steampunk alive for the moment. And, well, no finalized kills. Little horde is going to have to play a little bit safer, because of course the rest of the team coming up to help. Great little hold there from TwoTapTony.
Pretty good job. Nice healing there to sort of not get the multi-elimination that Sigma wanted, but once again Boris getting the initial picks out of these fights, pushing forward as well, not afraid to go forward. And St. Francis Blue, they've changed the Orisa here, the Bastion ends up going down, the Resurrection ends up getting Steampunk back online too, but looks like they maybe want to play this a little bit slower, try to heal up to re-engage on this, because SCC Lord doing such a good job for me too.
You can see Kiriko coming through, but the Baptiste wall too from Alpaca, trying to keep the soldiers alive, and we'll be able to get the heal off towards Boris and to Delta, who's still firing shots off the back line, and Boris is still being so oppressive with his Reaper. Pugnacious has found a way through. He's found some shots in, and Pugnacious able to take out Delta. It's now a take. Sigma versus Orisa, and it will be Boris to help his Sigma out. SCC Gold able to stabilize, but that was almost a huge play from Pugnacious.
Oh, Boris the party stopper. Yeah, Pugnacious, that was absolutely amazing there. That ultimate was very, very good. Continue to walk forward. It looks like Josh has been the person to walk forward here and eliminates Little Horde with Clutch, Keys, and the die. Reaper Death Blossom. Very well timed as they're pushing in through here. Nearly 5 seconds left on the clock. St. Francis Blue are going to have to do something.
You can see maybe Soldier Ult might come out here, but of course Orisa is in, Pugnacious is in the fray. Boris has taken out TwoTapTony. That's one of the supports down here for St. Francis Blue, and this might end now with the ultimates coming in line here from St. Francis. They're not going to come through though. It's SCC Gold. Clean sweep in there, and huge hold, I have to say. It got a little bit dicey there for SCC Gold. St. Francis started to test them at the end there.
Yeah, St. Francis, I think, once they were trying out a little bit more, and as I said, that Orisa play was so good. But speaking of plays that are really good, let's take a look at this.
Just teleports behind them for free.
Yeah, I know, crazy, right?
Absolutely huge. My word.
You know what I've noticed, mate? I reckon flankers are quieter in this game.
They're quieter. Very.
Maybe that's just my headphones, mate. But
Why don't you turn them up a bit?
Yeah, exactly. I just have to dial it through. See, I'm giving it an excuse there, but no, nothing to take away from that death boss, and that was really good timing because when you catch him off guard, mate, especially when you're playing Reaper, that is an absolutely fantastic feeling, and I'm sure Boris felt that then.
Yeah, that's an absolutely huge win as well. 2-0 SCC Gold over St. Francis Blue there. What a way to start out their Swiss, convincing fashion. Dominant scorelines, of course, as well. Very much hardly lost any bit of time there on those attack sides, or, of course, then going on the defense, they just held so perfectly. And I have to say, looking forward to seeing more SCC Gold through the Swiss.
Yeah, definitely. And let's sort of, once we get through this day, we'll be able to sort of piece along these narratives. And I think SCC have shown how strong they are and shown how flexible they are. They showed us a bunch of picks too. And who is going to stop this Reaper? That's my question. I mean, you even have the Sojourn in the mix as well, popping off on that sort of first map. And those damage stats would have been quite ludicrous from both those DPS, I feel. And having a tank that is basically immortal, it's amazing to see. And yeah, I mean, see how the other teams are sort of faring off as well. Maybe a little bit more even matches. Maybe we have more dominant shows as well. But yeah, it will be fun to see.
Yeah, and it was an absolute pleasure to see that first game. Of course, we'll go to a quick break while we get ready for our Swiss round at number 2. So guys, don't go anywhere. Don't touch that browser. We'll be back with more AEL High School Summer Series. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back with the AEL High School Summer Series, powered by Acer Predator. Of course, Rack, we had a very, very interesting first one. Of course, it was very clean and cut from the side of SCCS Gold. But now, of course, we've got an interesting one. We're now going into MGSO versus Emmanuel Gold, and a little birdie tells me we might be going Ilios first.
Very interesting, very interesting. I heard that little birdie as well. So, Ilios is actually one of my favorite maps, and I think this is one of those maps where the character that I made, Doomfist, could definitely be a character that is maybe picked up, hopefully. And Lucio. So, we already saw a elimination, an environmental one, on the very first control point with the Orisa. So I'm interested to see if we have any more of those grips. And something that we haven't seen actually so far is the Widowmaker. And one of the maps in Ilios, Gardens, I believe, is the one of like the long sightlines, right? It's definitely one that can have a bunch of Widowmakers. So if we want to see some highlight plays, get the grapple hook, do the 360, you know what I mean? It's very possible on that. So yeah, I mean, this is probably my favorite one, and hopefully we can see some spicy stuff.
Yeah, it should be interesting, of course, as well. Both of us love to see the Pharah, and Pharah as well.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty prominent pick on a map like this, where you can take a lot of height. Of course, you can get the environmental kills with that grenade that like pops people back. And of course, you can get a lot of good shots in with the Pharah. So maybe we'll see that. Maybe we'll see a bit of a combination with the Pharah Widow. Very much a very ranged kind of style of play that we might see from a few of these teams, especially these two teams going into this one as well. Lucio, very prominent pick, as you alluded to. Orisa, of course, as well. We saw very good from Little Horde in that Swiss round one there. But I'm curious to see as well whether we see maybe a little bit of a diva come in, you know, get a little bit more dive to this first point here on Ilios, and whether we see some crazy things in the sports as well.
Yeah, diva would definitely be a nice pick. I mean, I am wearing a diva shirt as well, so yeah, there you go. That's already a nice shout out. So hopefully we do get a diva just for the sake of me wearing this. So that'd be good. Just for that within itself. So I think diva is actually very good in Ilios as well. So that's a great point to bring up. But I think as well, I mean, my favorite thing about this as well is that we start off in a control. It's very fast paced. I think if you're a player, this is like the best game mode to sort of get everything out, get warmed up, and I mean, especially what we saw on our last series, right? With SCC, once they won that very first battle, they were just on fire throughout the whole time, you know what I mean? So I'm wondering if we're going to see the same sort of pattern here. Judging from the bracket, a lot of these teams, there is like a few amount of 2-0s, so I think especially if you win that very first map, that could be sort of your golden ticket to taking it out, you know what I mean? And I think if they end up getting the first map and the opposition ends up reclaiming it, that'll be a very entertaining sign as well, right? So as we get further and further, it's more likely we're going to get sort of more teams being a little bit closer to each other.
Yeah, hopefully we get to see some close battles this time around. Of course, a very quick one, last one. But of course, we're just quickly getting the teams ready and sorted out. But yeah, let's talk a little bit more about Ilios, of course. As you said, very control heavy to start it off, and then we go for a little bit more of a wider approach for our second one. And then maybe if we see a third, we could see some interesting things as well in the compositions. But yeah, this first one, definitely going to be a hot contention. I feel these teams are going to want to come out of the gate swinging.
Yeah, for sure. And how do you come out of the gate swinging? With a Reinhardt, possibly, but Reinhardt aside. I think especially like these heroes that you can get a pick with at the very start. So we're talking your Widowmakers, we're talking your Pharahs. We've been seeing a lot more Mercy as well, ever since she sort of got like that mini rework. So these hit scans are a little bit stronger too, so the Pharah can be a little bit dangerous to pick if the enemy has a really strong hit scan, especially like if you're pocketing a Sojourn, if you're pocketing a Cassidy, like those can be really deadly, right? So I think especially in these control maps, getting the pick at the start is very useful. And the reason why Mercy is going to be such an important pick is because if that person does end up getting picked, then you have the resurrection, right? So you sort of have like an extra opportunity to get back into it, bounce back through. But yeah, as we we're talking to about before, how can you not resurrect someone by burping them off the map, right? So, you know, especially like in the well, that's going to be very common. Roadhog has been significantly nerfed like throughout sort of these patches, but well is like one of the few maps where he's like, you know, pretty oppressive to play with a big hole in the middle, get the hook, and then that's pretty much a free pick, right? So teams always need to be aware of that. So yeah, that's why I like Ilios so much, because so much variety.
Yeah, it's also an interesting thing as well. You speak about the Roadhog pick. Very impressive with that ultimate, so you're able to push teams almost completely off the point, and of course there's nothing really they can do unless they can get around to the side, get above it even. But it's going to be interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of hotly contested picks here, and I feel these teams we'll definitely expect to see whether a Pharah or Widow, or even maybe both of them. But I'm interested to see what the supports bring on the table, because of course we spoke a lot about Lucio, we spoke a lot about Mercy. Do we maybe potentially see an Ana thrown in the mix here, maybe a Baptiste even to take out some of those Pharahs that are up high?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, those supports are sort of like your tech. Maybe if you don't have someone who's too comfortable on the hit scan, you can sort of say, all right, support players will help us out in this situation. I think in the last game, we saw the BAP doing a great job. So, taking that,
for this first map, it's going to be Ilios, and we see a Junkrat or two potentially in the mix, but of course these teams, they've got a little bit of time to think about it. May even being hovered. You can see the Ramatra as well. Mercy, definitely a prominent pick. Moira, also an interesting one to, you can get a little bit early damage out the orb, of course, being thrown through those chokes, and as well, Moira a little bit more of a diverse healer. You can kind of swap up where you want to play from. Your positioning very, very good with a character like Moira.
Yeah, that's true. And if you're in danger, she does have like a lot of mobility. It does give them a sort of bit more extra protection in the back line. But MGSO, they have the Farah and Emmanuel Gold don't really have an immediate answer to that, right? There's the Junkrat and there's the May, but it's very difficult to hit the Farah up in the air. So Moisty Morgan can end up getting a few picks here. I mean, there's not really too many ways for this fella to get touched.
You can see the Ramatra getting out a lot of damage too, but it's Caustic Germ, the right arc, swinging big and swinging for the fences, able to take out the Junkrat early. Both these teams often play Junkrat on a map like Well. Very, very interesting considering how open it is in the middle there, but of course a lot of chokes that you can toss those grenades down. Great little start here from Emmanuel Gold. Really, really steamrolling through those first early picks.
And that's really surprising as well, because I think MGSO have a pretty good team comp up against Emmanuel Gold too. So Emmanuel Gold sort of maybe realizing that, and they're pushing forward and saying we don't want to give any space to the opposition, right? We want to make sure that we push forward, don't give the Farah a lot of room to work with, because this Farah can be quite dangerous. But as you see, the Ana on the other side causing some pressure there, getting topped up to see if they can continue doing that as well. And there we go, Big Weeksy on the Junkrat getting the ticket start.
Great little pick there, and great little answer back in a second on Brandon. Great start here back from MGS. Oh, as they get the picks they need to push the point back, only 34% for Emmanuel Gold. And a clean sweep of that one. You can see some quick little swap-ins coming out. The Bastion, the Ana being thought about, the Soldier too, Remy. Just trying to charge that ultimate for the moment. But you can see the Moira ult start to come online. Moisty Morgan does have the Farah ultimate online as well. Valkyrie getting pretty close as well for Ant-Man. So the GSO very much have a very diverse pool of ultimates they can use in this next fight.
Getting in a position, and there we go. The Ana is taken down immediately. The Reinhardt shield is shattered, and there goes the coalescence from Moira as well. Very big flank there coming out from Moisty Morgan. Not going to be having too much trouble with the Bastion either. And that flank was very, very, very well set up. That gives them a quick win with that fight, and that's exactly what you want to see in that situation. Just cutting down the space and not allowing them to hit the tower.
Put to pieces like that Bastion was there in the corner. You'd see MGSO even holding aggressively on this choke, which you like to see a few of these teams go for, get those ultimates charged up again. There's only really one spot they're going to be coming from unless they go for a cheeky little flank around the right hand side. Great little rip sire for Big Weeksy. Huge double there onto Jorson and Remy, and again this Bastion flowing through with the opening space that's been given. Emmanuel Gold have been pressed out of this side so far.
Yeah, once those ultimates started coming in, they got a massive amount of value with both the Junkrat and the Farah. It's going to be very difficult for Caustic Germ to get value off the Reinhardt because of so much shield pressure, right? The Farah, the Junkrat, even the Ramatra can just sort of push through you, so Caustic Germ really needs to be careful about approaching the point here, but does have that Earth Shatter available.
Yeah, that shatter could be huge, and almost an opening there, of course, but still, Brandon coming through, and there it is, the shatter comes through, the charge, Ramada pinned against the wall, and Ryza will fall. Emmanuel Gold make a stand when they need it most, as MGSO touch that 99%. Emmanuel Gold able to cap it back, and huge shatter there, finding those last two, but the picks that came before that were more important, I feel.
Yeah, exactly. The picks are exactly what that set up there, and it made the Reinhardt so much easier to sort of walk forward and space to work with, because once I said that, shield damage is so from the side of GSO, they have so much to deal with that Reinhardt shield, but shoot fades straight through now.
And of course, Emmanuel Gold, they do have that Soldier ult online. You can see 66% getting up there for Emmanuel Gold as protection comes in. But still, Corsi Germ, great little start. Finding the first on the riser. The shots coming through from Mostly Morgan, and it's going to be the res coming out. Rice is back online, but still, Emmanuel Gold controlling the ball for the moment and pulling these players out. The Mantra is gone, taken down, swinging the hammer and swinging the shots, and it is Brandon to pick up another double. Emmanuel Gold, hold that one down perfectly.
It's going to be tough for MGSO to get back onto the point now. They do have the Lucio Rat, so they can do a magic rollout to come through, but fire in the hole says Junkrat. There we go, and that's the double. Very well timed there.
Huge Reptile again. These Junkrats have been oppressive. It's both Brandon and Big Weeksy ripping the tires back and forth. Jawson is gone. Of course, Germ to get another kill on a Big Weeksy, but you can see the Ramatra trying to get in with the Valkyrie ultimate here from Ant-Man. They do get the shatter onto him, but the boop from Weefa. Of course, Germ's taken out of the mix, and that's a lot now for Emmanuel Gold to lose. You can see that now these players are getting oppressed out of this site, pushed into the corners, and pushed into submission down the well for another boop goes Weefa. And in comes the Junkrat just to stall for the time, because MGSO, they can hold this choke. They can keep these players out, and they were going to be taking the first map.
You love to see it. I don't know why. There's just something that makes me happy about seeing a Lucio bip like that. And it just looks so comedic, you know? It looks like something out of like a Looney Tunes show when Reinhardt is charging and Lucio gets the boop at the same time. And then you just see Reinhardt just fall down the well in the middle like, oh, I made a mistake. It's just, I could just see that on repeat constantly and it would never get old. But yeah, I mean, props there from Weefler. I mean, people don't realize like how much value that is, right? Because, especially if it's a tank, because Reinhardt is so incredibly hard to stop if he's being pocketed, right? Half of his health pool is pretty much armor, so he's difficult to chunk through. But the boop just basically gets rid of that whole problem, that dynamic there, and all of a sudden, I mean, that was a very, very close first round, by the way, as well, and this is going to be much more different format for both of these teams on this map.
Yeah, and speaking of different formats, you see, we speak praise about the Lucio immediately swapped here for the second point, because not really all too much booping going on unless you're fighting that right-handed side. The Baptiste's going to be coming in here for Weefa, and the fight for the choke is going to be happening here. Ramatra taking it extremely low here. You can see Ryzen needs to be a little bit careful. The dash across the pin comes through, the swing of the hammer. Of course, he's taking it into his own hands, getting amongst a few players, getting traded out completely. Moisty Morgan, 24 HP and lucky to be alive right now.
Caustic wants to be part of the dive comp, I reckon. He's starting to take matters into his own hands, and I respect that. That's definitely a very manly move to do on Reinhardt. And Moisty Morgan ends up getting the pick on the Brendan, but just trying to sort of regather themselves, Emmanuel Gold, right now. But they're going to have to wait for their Junkrat to do that, so be careful with pushing out here, because maybe you can perhaps get poked out, because Big Weeksy nearly has that ultimate doing a bunch of damage on the Junkrat.
Yeah, Junkrat as well, still being held by both Brandon and Big Weeksy, and there it is.
Oh, wow.
Riptire goes rip. Big Weeksy takes out another, even getting the revenge kill on a Brandon. And a team kill across the board. MGSO hold this one so well, and well, you can see very much a big play there from Big Weeksy. The Riptires have been ripping well, I have to say. Multiple kills that are coming out of these have been very impressive in some of these fights.
Yeah, that's the value of both of those characters there. After it is the choice in both sides, so see, don't tank.
You can see Ant-Man popping the Valkyrie, and you can see Emmanuel Gold trying to make one of their last stands here. Caustic Germ again into the fray, fighting, swinging that hammer. Lamp put up by the Baptiste. Weefa getting close to that ultimate too. The hammer is still swinging, the shots are still coming, but Caustic Germ can't quite finish any of these players. They're backing off so well. The point has been back capped here by Jawson and the Junkrat. And trying to get some shots through. The Riptire is available. Emmanuel Gold trying to hold with two players here to this point, but they're going to be contested so well, because there's still so many members of MGSO alive. That great nano stops the healing for the moment, but MGSO are able to stabilize. Death Blossom comes out from Moisty Morgan just to rip another kill, just to find another frag, and Emmanuel Gold, well, they did get the point. They did get 30-something% for free. And MGSO, they're going to be a little bit more cautious.
Out there for a little bit. And Mercy managed the tanks in this situation ended up getting healed there with there, but still have control of the point for the time being. Trying to push forward and get it the kick it that soldier, see if he can survive this. But now the forward from my control and this is
It's definitely going to hurt. The Nano comes out. Dawson is going to try and find anything. These picks are just still going the way of MGSO. They're spread about this fight so well, and Emmanuel Gold looking to contest this point. The Riptide is getting pulled, and Dawson getting the kill onto Ryza, but the Riptide finds Araciel and Emmanuel Gold. They've been starved out of this point. They got a little bit of a back cap, but in the end, it goes to MGSO.
well played to MGS situation. And yeah, it was very close, especially compared to sort of the last series. And this has sort of been the narrative, right, throughout this whole match, just the Reinhardts, sorry, not the Reinhardts, the Junkrats competing with the Riptides. So yeah, that was a threat, gets a fourth at the end with the Satchel at the end, very clean. Nice little cheeky spray at the end as well. That's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, feeling confident about that one, MGSO. Big props there to Weeksy. Of course, one of the players that got fragged early, he was taken out of the mix, and you know, sometimes that weighs on a player's mental. If you first to fall, you're like, oh, maybe I'm not doing it quite right. Maybe I need to do something different. But Big Weeksy, he stuck to his guns, he stuck to the Junkrat, and it paid off dividends there. Some huge rip tires from both sides, even Brandon getting, of course, a few in the mix, and that's why you saw it go so close. So those rip tires were so oppressive, taking out the healers, taking out the stability that was in some of those fights for both those rosters.
Yeah, I mean, the Junkrat was certainly like a pick that we weren't exactly expecting, right? Because those maps are a little bit more of the more open ones, especially in Ilios. But I mean, both panned out for both of these teams, right? The Riptide got a massive amount of value, and I especially like the tank matchup too. I like seeing more Ramatra. Ramatra is a really fun character to see, and I think control is by far his strongest sort of point there. But yeah, I mean, it's good to see the sort of new characters getting the light. I mean, debatably, a lot of folks with Kariko, Sojourn, we've seen enough of them. But yeah, I mean, it's great that we're sort of, I mean, especially with the micro patch that we got like a few days ago, things seem to be getting a little bit more settled down.
Yeah, and also it's interesting to talk about the Ramatra coming through. A lot of space being controlled there by Ryza at that front end of the second point there, and very much I have to give a credit to Ryza showing how to play that Ramatra very, very well in terms of how you can take space, how you can control it with your team, and well, overall, a very, very good game from MGSO.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, especially with the Ramatra, we're seeing a lot more Reinhardts, and I think folks with the Ramatra think that's a matchup they can deal with, but it's also something that the supports need to be on top of as well, right? Because you have the anti-heal to take into consideration, the Kariko for the clans up against you. Like, the support dynamic is really, I think, we say that that's very important, but I think the game design is
Yeah, of course, you know, the dynamics are always an important thing. The team dynamic overall, I have to say, for these teams has been absolutely perfect. Of course, you know, you're a bunch of mates coming together for a high school league, a high school cup, but of course, there's a lot of coordination going on. There's a lot of charged ultimates, you know, there's a lot of spaced ultimates too. Of course, we saw that first series that they were able to time their ultimates well. The Death Blossoms came in very, very quickly. Of course, the Rip Tires as well, with a lot of coordination from the rest of the team to follow through with that one. Of course, they got a little bit chaotic in the end there, a lot of spread fights going about, but MGSO were able to stabilize in the end of things.
That is very true. I wonder how the second map is going to pan out. But yeah, sorry, you could probably even my camera. I'm not going to pretend like I'm a little bit jittery at the moment in terms of my camera, but you know, fingers crossed, I'm just going to see the internet. And I mean, at least I can see the game. I'm enjoying the games, and it was nice. I'm both looking forward to the next.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether we go. We've just had that little birdie in our ears tell us we're going back to Blizzard World, so maybe we'll see the same style of play that we saw from our last two teams on Blizzard World in this one. We saw a lot of ball being hovered. Of course, it didn't really fully come to fruition. It was more the Diva and, of course, the Reinhardt that we saw a lot more of. But it'll be interesting whether we see the ball, whether we see a Jean in the pick, or maybe we see the Junkrat again, because of course a lot of chokes there on Blizzard World you can hold with the Junkrat. It's a little bit more open though, so maybe we won't see too much Junkrat, but of course always a pick to look for, I have to say, in a map like this.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, considering sort of both teams and what they picked before, right? They were both really big on the Junkrat. But, and even our last series, right? Both teams are really close on the choke, trying to basically cut off any opportunity to push through. And that first point was so incredibly vital, right? So getting control of that first point, making sure to get the pressure there is massive. But, I mean, both of these teams, right? They've shown a massive... they're willing to take the opportunities. They're willing to go for the goals. And I'm interested to see how the sort of adaptation will be playing around here, because we've seen Ramatra, we've seen Reinhardt, we've seen Sigma, we've seen Zarya, we've seen a lot of different tanks. We haven't exactly seen a lot of dive per se, right? It's sort of been a little bit more on like the close range sort of brawly style. So I'm curious to see if we're going to see any dive, because of course here we had that little bit on the high ground there with trying to disperse them off a little bit there. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to say I want Doomfist, but Winston's also in the package there. Actually, we saw a bit of Diva, right? So that can be counted as that dive sort of dynamic. But I think teams are willing to slow it down a little bit. They're willing to play fast, but sort of like a tempo, you know what I mean? It's sort of like not everyone's diving it at the same time. They just want to take the pick. Once that pick is there, go forward and then attack it that way.
Yeah, a lot of space being focused about from both of these sides, and of course we saw a lot of space being taken in that last map, and I definitely want to take a look at whether we see a Winston, because of course Winston hasn't been too much in the favor recently. You saw Zarya even, so Zarya might be in the play for these teams. Of course, very, very oppressive ultimate, very good shields as well for keeping your teammates alive, and maybe that's what Emmanuel Gold want to go for this time. Yeah,
I mean, the thing is, right, sometimes it's good to keep it simple, and I think with Zarya, you have like that press Q button, everyone just spam your stuff in there. I mean, they had a Junkrat, right? So Zarya Junkrat, that's a good combo to sort of get your stuff sorted. Just one ult, just plop in your primary fire there for your Junkrat, explode a few people. So yeah, I mean, that's a really easy, sort of simple win condition to execute. It's all about sort of getting the grabs up quickly though, because sometimes you can fall a little bit behind on tempo if he's Zarya, if you can't get the charge. There's a lot of shields. If there's like a Reinhardt that isn't getting pressured enough, sometimes it's hard for you to get that sort of ultimate charged up quick enough. But she did get a buff with her shield, so they're a little bit lower on cooldown now. So that sort of defensive part is easier for her. But we're just about to get in the game, and let's see what is going to be picked here for both of these teams. I'm quite curious. So MGSO getting the very first win of this series, and it was pretty close considering all things.
Yeah, it was a very hard fought one, especially on that second point, more than the first. And well, we see some interesting hovers, maybe the mate being thought about by both sides. But of course, Branda back to the Junkrat, Big Weeksy back to the Junkrat, and still that Moira being hovered, and of course picked by Acer. It might be a very good one here for a map like this. Of course, very prominent in the chokes. You can throw out that orb, get a lot of damage in, charge that coalescence up very, very quickly. Emmanuel Gold, though, going to be starting off the attack. Is going to be MGSO on the defense, and well, Leafa getting rid of those rafters so he can heal his teammates very well.
That's a good play of the game right there. Or getting rid of the little barriers, stacked players.
And some good damage being dealt here. Remy getting extremely low from the grenades being tossed out by Big Weeksy. And again, the Ramatra in the play here. The MGSO is something we want to highlight. Of course, very, very impressive character holding that space, taking a lot of damage early on and dealing out a lot more as well. Big Weeksy tossing out the traps, tossing out the nades, the shield there as well. And a lot of good stopping force here behind MGSO with a few of these character selections as well. You can see the Satchel to get high, Big Weeksy just backing off, getting the reload. The senses though there might be a Junkrat close, and that is definitely the case here. Brandon has found himself in a little bit of a precarious spot, taken out by Big Weeksy, and MGSO holding this stroke to start it off and really, really stalling down the time.
That Michael War ends up working separating the team there, and possible to get a pick off that too, but it looks like they're going to have trade straight after. Yeah. It may be pretty devious in both of these compositions, and that ultimate can be incredibly useful too. Oh, didn't end up getting the pick, the wall was straight underneath, so they didn't end up getting that they wanted in that situation. The remark big again.
Huge tire, and again another big weak seat. Has had his weak mix this morning, that's for sure. Very much playing this Junkrat pick so flawlessly. Good tire, finding 2. Don't even need the third. We've seen a lot of these tires, just find 2, and that's really all you need. The first pick, the second pick, and that's all you really need to win the fight out from there, of course. MGSO, again, holding this choke well. Very much a very hard one to hold, I feel, for a few of these teams, especially if you're facing dive, but Emmanuel Gold not going for this dive. They do have a Mei ult up. They have opted to use the Coalescence, and there goes the Mei ult. They're looking to push on through. They're looking to stop these players, but that Mei wall counteracts the push. Emmanuel Gold now have to go to the left, and the Mei ult in return onto Emmanuel Gold, and Moisty Morgan dancing around that one perfectly here. You can see the shatter comes through, the fire strike as well. Emmanuel Gold still have players to push on at this point.
See how they push under here. The soldier has been to try and get on there a little bit quicker. Nano Boost has been proc with the main. See if they can get some value off that. The Junkrat's really low, gonna get the shot. Oh, just narrowly missing.
Oh, nice little nano though. Impulsive Germ not be able to be healed up. And now Remy has to back off. Tire comes through, but it's quickly dispersed off. This time Big Weakness, he takes it out. And that was Emmanuel Gold's moment to push there. MGSO just able to stabilize with those few players that were left. Moisty Morgan held on for so long. MGSO able to come back alive, come back to the point, stop the push from there. And well, now Emmanuel Gold, they've only got a minute left.
Only a minute left. It's going to be a little bit difficult, but it looks like there's a little bit of a back cap happening there, that the Junkrat's going to be escaping, maybe on a slither of health. The anti-heal, and he still manages to survive. The nano boosted Reinhardt, this could potentially be quite big here.
And you can see Ramattra though getting in the fray, just swinging in front of that shield. Of course, Germ not quite able to do anything there, just forced away by the amount of pressure here from MGSO. You can see even Mei getting extremely low. Emmanuel Gold, they've got these players extremely close to death so many times, but just not quite able to do anything about it. The Mei ultimate too, just to stall for time. MGSO, all they need to do is burn another 20 seconds and they will have this first round in their hands, and a Reptile definitely will do the stuff.
Oh dear. Amazing stuff here from Big Vixie once again with the Reptile. It's going to be someone trying to backcap the point on the other way around, and will be cleaned up eventually. Very cheeky stuff there coming up from Brandon, but not cheeky enough. And there we go, Rez comes out, and that was a very solid hold there from the squad of MGSO.
Score.
And you can even see the chat there. Jawson's like, you guys are crazy. Very strong hold there from MGSO. I have to say, it gives credit to how willing they are to adapt to the situation ahead of them. Emmanuel Gold, they had such a great push there with that Mei ultimate, and then of course the wall from the opposing Mei from MGSO, Moisty Morgan, placing that wall, dropping that ultimate so quickly, stopped Emmanuel Gold in their tracks. They kind of had to focus on him. They kind of had to really rally their forces back, and that's when MGSO were able to put the foot down. They're able to find the picks that they needed, and they're able to stabilize it from there. Emmanuel Gold, a strong start doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a strong finish, but MGSO, very much a credit to them. They played that hold well.
Exactly. See how this can pan out now as well.
Have you tried bandaging your mouth?
The Mei, of course, has been something you've been seeing a lot, right? And it's quite a fun pick, especially with so much Reinhardt, right? And even Ramatra, because both of these tanks don't really have a lot of mobility. So with your Mei War timings, it's incredibly important to try and teams to run Indiana as well, right? If you get a nice Mei War anti-heal, that could be the difference maker between trying to kick some of these heads off. Let's see how it works with the defensive side of MGS as well, and then you'll go the first combat with both trying, so they're wanting to hold this as close as possible. But Brendan, also since getting well, that's very good.
And Symmetra teleport set up. Moisty Morgan, Big Weeksy, they're all just going to teleport behind Emmanuel Gold. Look to take the point in front of them. All they need is that 33%. And there it is. It's done like that.
What?
So teleport. They get absolutely backstabbed by the Symmetra pick. Moisty Morgan getting in the fray, and MGS win just like that.
Oh my. Well, we just saw that happen. I felt that. I felt it watching it. But, wow. I mean, I'm lost for words, mate. But, that just happened.
Oh, man. Hey, props to MGSO. They got it done. They got the Symmetra pick. They're like, all right, Ultimate's online, let's go. Teleport behind. Nobody's on the point. Nobody's able to answer. They're not able to turn and burn just like that. The communication from MGSO to go for a cheeky play like that as well. Props to them. That's why they took the series. Stuff like that.
Yeah. That was very funky to do. I think after the sort of first pick, they're like, yeah, let's push forward. And then they didn't realize that the rest of the team was right behind them. And yeah, I mean, that's just how it ends sometimes. And I think it's poetic, given sort of the first map, and they're sort of trying to outmuscle each other. And then sort of the crafty play with the Symmetra teleport to sort of get that edge. And sometimes that's all you need in these type of games, right? So the creativity, a little bit of cheese. And I mean, that's something that I wasn't expecting. That's something that a lot of people weren't expecting this scenario. It just caught them off guard.
Yeah, I saw the Symmetra pick and I was like, all right, what's going on? What are they doing here? And then, we had it. We found it. The teleport straight onto the back in the face of those players. And Emmanuel Gold, a hard-fought first map, but unfortunately not quite what they wanted in the second there. Blizzard World, we've seen a lot of diversity of picks there, and I have to say Symmetra as well. One of them that's not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, especially if using that teleport, right? Some people are using it against like Orisa, sometimes to get like a lot of charge off. But yeah, I mean, the teleport when going to specific parts of maps that if you don't have like a lot of mobility, right? If you have a Reinhardt, if you have an Orisa, you can't really dive onto specific spots, right? So that Symmetra helps them get to a higher ground without having too much issue. So when teams are crafty of that, it's pretty cool, right? Sometimes you see it with like May Wars too, getting to really like obscure spots and having some plays based off that. But yeah, Symmetra is one of those picks where sometimes if you have a good set play, it can really just like end up winning you the game somehow.
And a quick one to close it there for MGSO, and I have to say, I'm looking forward to seeing a little bit more from Emmanuel Gold, though. They definitely shown some points of some merit there, and of course we'll look forward to see them go through the Swiss. But a 2-0 again, MGSO looking absolutely in control of their fate here in the round 2 of the Swiss, and well, we've got plenty more Swiss happening. This is shaking up to be an interesting afternoon, Rack.
It is definitely shaping out to be an interesting afternoon. And I mean, yeah, it is getting sort of better and better. And that is the nature of the format, right? We're going to be seeing teams that are sort of more close to each other. And that was already a series that we saw like creativity. We saw a little bit of a battle there on the control, a lot of different picks. So, I mean, for you folks at home, what could be next as well? What could be next? Stay tuned.
What could be next? Stay tuned as we quickly go to a break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more AEL High School Summer Series before you know it. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Acer AEL High School Summer Series. And Rack, I tell you what, technical issues be damned, we're back, we're here, we're ready to go for our Swiss round number 3. And I tell you what, we've had some very close, interesting games, and of course we've seen a lot of diversity as well in the picks.
Yeah, it's been lovely. It's been lovely so far, and I think that's what Blizzard were aiming for Overwatch 2. We want a little bit more diversity with some of those picks there, and I think we've been seeing a few different sort of styles throughout this bracket. And both of these teams that we're going to be seeing, they've actually won one and they've lost one. So they're sort of in that middle ground, right, where they've tasted victory and they've tasted defeat. So see how that pans out for the both of these teams. So Heathfield High School versus Albany Creek. So these are the two teams that are going to be up against each other. And yeah, I think it also depends as well, because although they are 1-1 in terms of like the win and loss ratio, I think if you end up losing your first match and then you win the second, you have like a little bit more of an advantage rather than sort of the other way around, right? Because you want that tempo coming into this third game. So we'll see if that ends up coming into play. I believe one of these teams ended up running into the first team that we ended up seeing, which was SCC Gold. So let me refer back to the bracket real quick, which was, yeah, Aces Overwatch 2, which I believe production, which high school does that relate to? Albany Creek. There we go. Broke the fourth wall there for a second just to get you some statistical stats. And yeah, there we go. But
it's a very interesting one. Let's take a look at the teams in the competition. Of course, we'll see who's attending, who's playing, who's fragging up a storm. You see, of course, Albany Creek, Heathfield, Emmanuel Catholic College. Of course, they've got a few teams as well. A few of these schools, they're running multiple rosters, and of course, as we alluded to at the start of the afternoon, always good to see a bit of inter-school rivalry as well, a bit of rivalry in between teams in the schools as well. But of course, we've seen some interesting games, and of course, as we said, diverse picks and a lot of interesting plays too. A lot of heavy reliance on the Junkrats in that last one that might come through in this one. But of course, I believe we're going to Lijiang Tower. If production has whispered correctly, Lijiang Tower should be a interesting map for to start it off, especially, you know, being that control, being that these teams, as you said, like to get off to a hot start, and control's kind of one of those ones where you can feel out the tempo a little bit. Yeah,
that's definitely true, and I think Lijiang's, you know, one of the first maps in Overwatch, right? And I think with Reinhardt coming back, slowly swinging his way back into the meta, he could be certainly a character that could be quite difficult to deal with in Lijiang, right? And I think Junkrat can be good in certain points. You know, the Pharah we've seen on a couple of occasions too. But yeah, certainly like these classical picks could end up coming back. But that's the good thing with the pool that we've had as well, and we've been swapping maps in between this sort of control, that we get to see these different types of comps coming out. But yeah, I mean, I think Reinhardt definitely is something to be a little bit of a point of contention. The Ana, of course, in the matchup, like, supports us so incredibly in the tank matchup. Like, it's insane. Like, when you have a support that can time like the cleanse properly with the Kariko, like the anti-heal with the Ana, the sleep, like that could literally be the like difference between you losing and winning the fight, right? So sometimes when you look at the kill cam and we see like the tank popping off like with a hammer just swinging left and right, you don't see the supports in the back line, you know, just making sure they're landing every shot, making sure they're landing all the utility, you know, they're putting in the hard yards to make sure that the tank gets to play the game. So yeah, the unsung heroes are definitely the support. So shout out everyone playing support in this tournament. Shout out to everyone playing support in general. You are the true heroes of Overwatch that we all need.
A thankless job at sometimes, the support role too. Of course, I'm a bit of a support main myself sometimes, and yeah, definitely always good to get some praise as well for playing that Mercy well, playing that Ana well. Sometimes even the Zenyatta if you want to get a little bit spicy with it. But of course, we have to look at Lijiang Tower as our first map, and it's going to be an interesting one, very, very enclosed with a lot of these fights, but as well, for this first point, it's going to be very open in terms of how you want to get your DPS into this one, because of course you can take the high ground, you can also take the middle ground there. Very, very common picks, I feel.
Yeah, definitely. Farah has been a sort of classic pick on this map. And oh my, speaking of the Zenyatta, are you looking at what I'm looking at, mate?
Oh yeah.
Oh, we were just talking
He's
about
that
this.
guy.
It
He's
was
that guy.
that guy is literally saying it himself. He knows. He knows. Are we actually going to be seeing it? Because sometimes players they just hover it and they don't commit to it. But I think this actually might be locked in. Wow. With the Reinhardt as well, right? So this is going to be very tough to deal with sometimes because you don't have the most healing in the world of this sort of duo, but at the same time you have the Discord Orb, and with that Discord Orb, if anyone is targeted with that, they can be eliminated so quickly. But of course Zenyatta very squishy at the same time, so double XO.
And you also feel HHS Maroon have a bit of a counter to it. They've got Genji, you can deflect a lot of that outcoming damage, maybe from Bastion as well, outcoming from the Zenyatta. You can see cheeky little pin being thought about here by Golden Hook for the second, but needs to keep his May healthy. He's Deceptive very much close and in the fray, taking out Tibagon and Moira being taken out of the mix early. HSS Maroon, that's not what they want right now. You can see their numbers dropping like flies or from that first pick.
Yeah, and the Reinhardt getting some good value there, right? Golden Hook being topped up throughout that whole time as well, and considering that he doesn't even have like the most healing in the situation, right? So making sure that knows his limits in that situation, going around the corner, just flickering the shield in and out to make sure that it doesn't get bursted down there. So nice awareness. Nearly has the Earth Shadow already, actually, so massive value with that sort of swing around the corner, pin getting into position there, but still trying to sort of both teams gather their positions. The Orisa using the E to get in, trying to block a lot of the damage shots, but getting melted at the same time, but big anti-heal too.
Yeah, big anti. You can see Titanium feeling a little bit worse for wear, and that one is able to get out. Somehow still alive at half HP. But Aces are rolling through this one early, and it's all to the credit of how aggressive Golden Hook is playing this Reinhardt, getting very much a lot of swings off, and the credit to his healers keeping him alive. Deceptive 2 on top of things. And Cam1, stuck on the outside for the moment, needs to probably get back in, get those heals off to his team, and for the moment, the Junkrat not doing too well. And of course, Titanium not all much he can do about this one, especially how countered he's feeling right now.
Yeah, it's definitely true, and the Coalescence does come out from the Moira, just trying to push that advantage. And believe it or not, guys, that was a Coalescence, it's just a little bug there, and it did come out. We're not lying to you. As you can see, the percentage is very low, she just used it. But anyway, as you can see, the poke is coming through the Bastion, but that is a massive anti-heal. That is what you needed, and the Dragon Blade in conjunction with it, but he's pinned! Oh no!
Titanium's getting nothing going. This is so unfortunate for him to start this one off, and you can see swing, the hammer. And Hera's in the mix though. It has popped the ultimate of his own and trying to get the damage off the Reinhardt. Getting so much healing right now, especially from the Moira, who's doing the job of the Zenyatta. And of course, able to stabilize for the moment. Just need to take out the Genji. Titanium's back in the fray, but that Dragon Blade, unfortunately, getting absolutely countered. Aces started off with the first map.
Yeah, very, very solid start there, and I'm just amazed at the sort of performance here from Golden Hook, because I think with the Reinhardt matchups, it's very difficult to sort of play at your prime without an Ana or a Kariko, right? Because you have like the cleanse, you have the healing to amp you up there with Ana, but has a Zenyatta and Moira. Like, Moira can definitely get some good healing going, but she sort of has to dedicate herself, right? She can't be as flexible as what she wants to be, but doing a very good job just knowing the limits of the character, because it could literally be the meaning or the difference between you sort of getting eliminated and not eliminated if you aren't very careful with that shield, but not too much sort of pressure coming out from HHS Maroon there with the shield pressure, opting to go for like a Genji as well, so very aware of that, but more of a dive comp here coming out from Aces. Well, Winston coming out actually. This is our first Winston show of today, so see how that ends up panning out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because you've got the Bastion Moira that are going to be playing a little bit further back, but maybe, of course, still in the fray. And then you've got your Moira Winston, which is kind of a pseudo-dive, very much heal, dive, poke a little bit as well. You can get a lot of damage off and then back off pretty scot-free. As you can see, Aces trying to take control of his backside of the point, while HSS Maroon are trying to take the front side, and they're getting bleeded out right now. Everybody just falling, dropping like flies, not so bad, onto the Cassidy, and it's not going to do much. Red Ed is going to be taken out, but still stabilizing force, and Acer's even going to go for the chase on a Titanium, maybe.
Now, Winston can be very oppressive if you're playing the Genji, just chasing you down, not wanting to get any value out here with chasing the supports of the Genji, but trying to find the mark here. Titanium, of course, that Dragon Blade is going to be so incredibly important. Doesn't have it yet, but trying to find the ult charge necessary. The Mei will try and choke out this area and trying to find her mark, but wasn't successful in that situation. But the Discord onto the Orisa going to be something we're going to have to take into consideration as well. The opposition could melt very quickly.
Opposition melting quickly. Deceptive trying to get someone frozen. Anybody. That guy, he's going to toss the orb onto the Winston, get his teammate healed up, and
there we go.
Deceptive just living through it all. And a little pick though. Titanium has found Zenyatta, needs to find the Bastions too. The deflect is good, and Titanium still in the fray, but Acer still have a hold of the site. You can see he's going to be tossing out that Coalescence. We can't quite see it. Titanium almost taken out. He is able to get the healing orb, and well, damage orb taken back, and Titanium still in the fray. Might be chased down though, and might be stalled out of this one. They just need to find that kill. Titanium gets out. He's so low, man.
The Magician, Houdini at work, apparently. Very good job for Titanium, doing a bunch of job that fight to stall it out as well, but still has that Dragon Blade available. It's going to be important to use. The Primal Rage ends up getting the Cassidy on the other side. Coalescence having to go into the situation. The point is going higher on the percentage each second. Oh no!
The boop. The boop, man. Heroes fall. Goodbye. Titanium tries to come over the top. And Team Iron's going to probably fall in a quick succession there. And there's the Dragon Blade. Titanium is going to go for Stimpy. Looking to get into the fray though. He's surrounded by 4 members of Aces who are still on this site and still holding this point so well. All the way up to 96, and there's nothing HSS Maroon can do. Mayol comes out the wall too to stall, and just clean sweep of that one. Aces, Overwatch 2, taking home Lijiang Tower.
There we go. Yeah, that was really, really quick as well. And it is really hard to do work on Genji in that situation, as Golden Hook does get the play of the game rightfully. I think we might see a boop in the situation. There we go. Cassidy's eliminated. Was slept as well. Who woke the Winston up? I think it was the Orisa. And guess who gets punished for waking him up?
The Orisa.
The Orisa. Buddy. Just, you couldn't have written it any better, mate.
Absolutely couldn't have written it any better. I have to say, though, we get to see the Winston finally come out in a diversity again from this high school summer series. And definitely interested to see Lijiang Tower play out so well. Normally we get to see a little bit more boops on that bridge, but of course, very much, I have to give credit to how Aces were playing that one. They played it together, and they played it as a force. You saw Titanium struggle to get in time and time again, and just couldn't get anything going with this Genji.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, Genji is quite difficult to play with his Dragon Blade if he is the only ultimate that is needed for the transcendence for the opposition, right? So Zenyatta doesn't really need to worry about using his trance, because the only thing he really needs to worry about is the Dragon Blade, because you're not going to be using it against Cassidy ultimate. Like, there's no point. You're not going to be using it against the other ultimates on the enemy team either. So all Zenyatta needs to do, needs to be careful, of course, of the initial Genji dive, but only needs to worry about popping trance for the Genji ultimate. There's difficult ways to bait it out. Still baiting it out is an option, but still they were very consistent in how they applied the pressure there. And the Winston was just like the icing on the cake, right? So that just makes Genji's job way more difficult, because, I mean, we saw the amount of work actually to get through that fight, surviving, you know, jumping left to right, just dashing around everywhere. Surprised he ended up surviving that, as I said, Houdini in the works there, but still just didn't manage to do enough there. And there was a good, decent draft adaptation from the opposition to try and shut that down too.
Yeah, I have to say, you feel for Titanium in situations like that, but of course, a very well played 10 game overall from Golden Hook. I had to say, the Ryan was very, very impressive, that map number 1, and of course, very much a credit to him and Deceptive, just getting those early picks, getting in the front line, and just not letting the opposition breathe. And then, of course, you saw him swap to the Winston, showing that, you know, his champ pool runs very, very thin, very thick, sorry, and of course, for the opposition, their chances ran very, very thin at the end of that.
Yeah, and it's really cool, because sometimes with tanks, especially back in Overwatch 1, I felt like if you were either a Winston or a Reinhardt player, right? Like, very few people were able to master them both, because they're complete opposite sides of the spectrum. One's like a really dive-heavy one, one's more like a brawl one. And speaking of how these tanks sort of interact, my favorite map of the game, a fan favorite, is coming up next. King's Row, the classic. This is where we might be seeing some brawl. This is where potentially Dive could even have something to say about it too. But this is always been my favorite map. It's been, I believe, it was part of the initial Overwatch map pool, and I think it's always been a fan favorite for a lot of folks. So I'm glad we're seeing King's Row, because we've seen Blizzard World a couple of times already, right? So seeing a little bit more diversity in the hybrid pool there. But yeah, there we go. I mean, we've seen a lot of control maps, so that's very good within itself. And yeah, Li Jiang was quite entertaining.
Yeah, I always love to see Li Jiang, and of course we get to go to the El Clasico of King's Row. And it'll be interesting to see where we see the picks lie, because of course you said a very brawl-heavy style of play. Of course, you still also have the opportunity to go for that maybe early Widowmaker pick on that attacking side, try and catch a player off guard. But of course, very much prominent to the brawl with the hybrid style of map. And of course, maybe we see the tanks swap it up a little bit. Maybe we see the Zaryas come out and a lot more focus go towards Grav and Nano Blade play even.
Yeah, true. Actually, that is one thing that we haven't seen, the Nano Blades, which is a nice, simple, staple like win condition that every time Nano Blade is up, you're going to end up getting like 3 at least. You know what I mean? That is something that we haven't seen yet, and as you sort of hinted at initially as well, King's Row, especially at that start bit, is where you can see that Widowmaker to try and get sort of a little bit of a peek out, see if you can get a pick at the start, then maybe they swap off or continue with the tempo. But remains to be seen so far with that Widowmaker. But both teams hovering over their comps already, see if they elect to stay with these.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. No Widow being hovered, I guess, for the moment, but we can see definitely Reinhardt's are a staple to stay. That guy going over to the Lucio, so maybe Aces are thinking a little bit more dive heavy with the Moira Lucio. Of course, you've still got Golden Hook, you've still got Deceptive on their tried and trusted Mei and Reinhardt. Redhead still on the Bastion too. This is going to be an interesting one, because HSS Maroon have also opted to go for the Bastion.
Oh, and look at this cheeky rotation off the high ground there. Have the movement speed of Lucio as well, so this is going to be quite quick. They're already onto the high bit there, so let's see if HHS Maroon can be caught off guard here, because Aces are already through, but the pick ends up coming out onto Stimpy, so they're caught a little bit here.
And the hammer's swinging, Golden Hook trying to get some picks onto the Kiriko, maybe onto the healers, stop the forces from rallying. Great little pin coming out, but unfortunately not quite much you can do when all your teammates have fallen. Redhead stuck behind the tower now, trying to get the heal back from Stimpy, who's just respawned in. And Deceptive taking out in the respawn. Aces, they need to stall for a little bit. They need to gather the numbers and rethink about their plan of approach.
It's true, they did have a pretty creative way to try and get it on the point, but unfortunately Stimpy ended up being picked off there. But there we go, speaking of picks, the Bastion just chunking through the opposing one. The better robot apparently, and Golden Hook is onto the point, just swinging left and right. Has already taken out the support. Shadow is available too. Won't elect to use it, still has that left off in the bank, and the charge comes out. And once again, this person who was wielding the hammer, might as well call him Thor at this point, doing a fantastic job with the Reinhardt. Golden Hook. Good stuff.
Yeah, and well, keeping that Shadow, didn't even need to use it for that last fight, so now, you know, a very crucial ultimate to have online for a position like this, where the choke is normally very much being contested by this HSS Maroon side. Man, Eric getting a little bit of an emote in, show that he's not scared, potentially, though. Aces, that was a quick take to that first point, and now looking to get onto the payload. Kiriko needs to keep the team healthy, as HSS Maroon looks to hold these players coming around, and there's the Shadow coming through. Doesn't quite hit its mark though. It's quickly countered by the Soldier ultimate. You can see the Titanium's getting in the fray, swapping off from the Genji to the Soldier, and it seems to be doing wonders.
Yeah, doing a fantastic job at trying to melt down here. The 1v1 against the Mei. Oh, that was so close, and the Blizzard got cancelled as well, so that's one ultimate down the drain. The Bastion would have been being used on the Lucio too fast for that. Can't be caught by those missiles up in the sky, but there's still more to be thrown at the opposition as well, and trying to back off. A lot of shield damage in both of these comps as well. The Kiriko cleanse has just been used, so maybe there's a little bit of a gap to push forward here.
Yeah, you saw the artillery come out from red. It didn't quite hit its mark, but now they're looking to break it down. The Lucio ult as they now push on through this choke and try to take these players out. This Reinhardt's still pretty healthy though for the moment, and almost taking our golden hook. Quick little trade back though, and Aces are able to take control of this corridor for the moment and look to push a little bit further along, getting about halfway to that point as HSS Maroon starting to get a few ultimates online though. We've got the Kiriko ult, Coalescence about 80%, and the Soldier ult about 70, so we can look to see a big contest here at HSS Maroon on this corner choke.
Still, that golden hook Earth Shadow is going to be very, very tough to deal with as well, especially Kiriko Cleanse was just used, so another 8 or so seconds before that's available back then. So now just trying to heal everyone out. Deceptive does end up getting the pick. The Earth Shadow does come out as well, going and moving forward. Once again, golden hook Cleanse has been used, trying to make them more immune, but I don't think that is enough. Ace is pushing forward. Golden hook trying to get the Kiriko, and bam, thank you. Only one left on the point is Maroon, and the Earth Shatter got cancelled, I believe, and that is unfortunate. They will not have that ultimate to have for the next fight, and Aces are continuing to be on the front foot.
They're continuing to be on the front foot. Aces, well, holding their aces high right now as they're looking to push onto this choke. But there we go. We've got the Coalescence back. We can see the beam this time, and well, T-Baron, T-Darvin, sorry. Apologies for the mispronunciation. It's kind of hard to see their names, but ooh, not hard to see that Titanium's hitting a few shots.
Titanium doing a very good job, huh? And still has the tactical visor available. Not even sure if we need it at this point, mate, with those shots. So maybe the ultimate's a disadvantage for Titanium, or not really a disadvantage, doesn't make a difference. But seeing how they can use it as well, because with the Kiriko ultimate, it can prove to be a pretty useful combo tool. Thing is, they really need to work around that Reinhardt shield for him to get that flank as well. Bastion ultimate being used and Golden Hook being eliminated early from this fight as well, so we'll grant them a bit of breathing room for the time being.
Breathing room. And of course, going to turret mode, getting some damage off, not so bad. No, Maywall stops the push for the moment, and Aces will look to regroup around the spawn. They're just waiting. Of course, they can look to speed boost Lucio ult through this choke with Coalescence and look to push on through with the Mei ult, and it is going to be that. It is breaking it down and pushing forward with the speed. Lucio getting the team in for their team kill. Deceptive and Golden Hook being so oppressive with the Rain and with the Mei and the Reinhardt. You call it Rain. Pretty close.
That's pretty good, actually. Maybe that's what the combo should be called. Maybe not. I don't know. But anyway, I mean, still have a few of these ultimates available for Maroon, right, as well. They didn't manage to get that combo off last fight, and they probably want to be peppering down this Reinhardt shield too, but also you still have the threat of the Earth Shadows are going to be used here to stop the Soldier roll, and it is used! Titanium shut down. There we go. The hammer has been wielded in the right hand, but at the same time, Maroon have continued to push forward. The Bastion ult, the artillery from the sky, that actually ends up getting 2 magical missiles, but not going to be enough, not enough of the squad alive to really take advantage of it, and respawns, of course, are very close to it.
Yeah, an attempted back push there by Deceptive, just trying to get it inching ever so close to completion, because HSS Maroon, they turn and burn, they take Deceptive out, and well, for Aces, they don't have too many ultimates online, or very much close to coming online, whereas Manhero, he's caught.
Hey!
Look at the boot. That guy's falling off, so is Deceptive. Both falling out of the map, and Aces, that's what they want. Don't have many ultimates, as I was saying. HSS Maroon, they've got a lot starting to come online. The Shadow for Manhero, and as well the artillery for not so bad, and as well that Coalescence.
A lot of heroes down there, unfortunately. Left to the Lucio in the chat, but see how they could potentially take advantage of this situation. The Earth Shadow available here from Manhero. There we go. Golden Hook actually ends up getting the pick at the start, and the charge ends up cancelling it with the shield. Magical clutch there. Needs to be topped up with the healing, but Deceptive end up getting the pick as well. The Bastion ultimate has been fired from the sky. End up getting picked as well, trying to push forward against this. Both the Reinhardts just manly swings up against each other, but the Coalescence helping so much and making that battle a little bit easier.
Yeah, it kept Aces alive in that fight. The coalescence just spreading across the team, getting them the heals up, getting them healthy is where they want to be. And Golden Hook, that guy finding those picks. May Ultimate again being such an impressive force in stopping these defenders from stopping this cart from going to completion. Aces will be able to complete it. 12 seconds left on the clock though. Room for HSS to really work with here in this second half.
Yeah, for sure. It's been very close and very brawly, right? This is a classical Kings Row matchup, and I like that we're seeing the Lucio back as well. Lucio has sort of been a staple with a lot of these Ryan comps when you want to be engaging really quickly, right? You want to make sure that the Reinhardt gets in nice and quick to get those Earth Shatters. Maybe you might find a Lucio corpse down there. A few heroes, unfortunately, falling down in that location. But you know what? That's just the nature of it. I think that's one of the funnest parts of the game, pushing people off edges. But as we start to get into the next round, I don't think we're going to be seeing the Widowmaker. Not a lot of these teams are electing to pick it at the start. Or maybe we will. See? It's reverse psychology here, mate. When you say we're not going to see it, then we're going to see it. So hopefully those shots are good. Because it can definitely grant you a nice and easy pick to push forward, especially in these Reinhardt comps. You know, people can be quite durable, and let's hope those shots aren't so bad.
Yeah, not so bad indeed. Of course, rocking the Widow, Titanium still in the Genji, and of course, backed by the Ana Moira, could be not a bad stabilizing presence here, but it's going to be interesting to see how Aces play this. They know that there's a Widow in place, so they're just going to sit behind the wall. Nothing not so bad can do about it. Quick swap off. Deceptive finding the first pick.
Sensible stuff, but still ending up getting a pick over there. Deceptive on that Mei has been getting a decent amount of picks, actually, considering the hero as well, right? Like, you don't see Mei getting a lot of stray picks very often without the wall, but even with those right clicks, just laser sharp accurate with that. And speaking of the wall, nice little cheeky spot here, catching out the Reinhardt, and that is the El Clasico. Golden Hook taking advantage of it at the end of the charge, and that is a free bonus pick.
Ooh. And Stimpy even getting that one onto not so bad. Of course, hiding on the balcony, but down to 21 HP, you need to be careful. Ace is just going to sit this choke, and they have the freedom to do so. Another damage orb and another pick from Stimpy. Who needs pretty little icicles or a hammer when you've just got the cheeky little orb dealing tick damage?
Doing a good job. And speaking of doing a good job, this wall once again has been getting these picks exactly what they needed, and still not actually being eliminated so far, but managing to push through. And no, you just shot into a full deflect, and you have been punished massively. That was that must have hurt. But I mean, there we go. We don't actually end up getting onto the point after all that. I mean, especially since we saw such a good Mei wall at the start, managed to survive through that, so that was quite impressive. But coming back onto the point now, they're not leaving yet. Oh, there.
That's a shatter. That's an anti-Reinhardt, but still, 2 picks. This is doable now for Aces. They can defend this point. And just when you thought HSS Maroon have it, Aces come in through with Stimpy and Golden Hook, stalling for time and stalling for the presence of Manhera. Needs to get back. Maywall doesn't catch him off this time, but Aces were able to stabilize off of that.
Yeah, they were very good at stabilizing off it. I mean, they don't have the fastest team in the world. It's alright, it's not like they were playing dive and they get back on it really quick. I mean, Reinhardt does have the charge, but Golden Hook is pocketed very well to try and sustain through that. The deflect is getting a massive amount of value this game. And especially into the Bastion, trying to stand in front of people to make sure that they don't get chunked out at the beginning of the fight. So, well played there from Titanium. Does have the Dragon Blade available. Are we going to be seeing the infamous Nano Blade being used? Quite possible.
Yeah, it's being thought about it. You see KM1 hovering over Titanium. And of course, they've got the Coalescence, they've got the Shatter, they've got a lot of space-making potential with these ultimates, and HSS, they are looking just for the right point to use, and they do have that Mei ultimate available. Deceptive could look to pop that down, stall them for time. We've got a minute left on the clock. Manhera is just trying to get in, try to get the damage through. Cam1 keeping his soldiers healthy, and Manhera will be able to find the first on a Red Dead. But Aces, they turn attention to this choke, they turn attention to this room where Titanium's almost dropped to completion, 65 HP, still swinging that Dragon Blade, but still not quite hitting the mark, and Manhera's going to be taken out by that Mei ult into the dash. Titanium's found to back. This is still doable here for HSS Maroon. Titanium's doing so much work.
Massive antis as well to make sure that they can't get sustained throughout this fight. Titanium and the Reinhardt having a swing off there, and the stray grenade ending up finishing off Titanium. That was so back and forth, but back into the fight. The Earth Shatter gets immediately blocked. What reaction speed there, playing a fighting game at this rate. The charge goes on. Not so bad, it's eliminated. This is still ticking.
This is still going. It's still being contested though by Aces who are in this fray, and Manhera taken out. Red Deaded letting that gun rip, the machine gun doing so much work. Titanium though still so slippery and still so alive right now. Cam One, he's gonna get artilleried on, taken out by Golden Hook, and now Aces have found their stall point. The bulb comes out, the Ash to delay, but doesn't matter. Aces again, they stabilize and they win it out.
Wow, so massively just patient with how they got back onto the point there and just having faith in themselves. You know, it's very difficult to do that, but Titanium does get the play of the game on the Genji. I think doing a pretty good job at trying to shut down Titanium, but did manage to have his bright spots, especially in this last fight here as well, just taking advantage of the anti-heal, getting a lovely dive there as well. And yeah, I mean, a fantastic match, and I think that sort of really sums up King's Row, right? Just having like these really close range engagements. I like the sort of cheeky rotation at the start, like the Lucio going across the high ground, but that failed because a little bit of a pick ended up happening at the start of that. The teams were trying to get creative, trying to figure each other out. But yeah, I mean, the Reinhardts, right? Just these absolute monsters. And I think there were a few great blocks as well. Like, I think you know, Golden was great on that Reinhardt with the amount of like pure damage that was getting through, but there were great blocks on the other side as well, right? Trying to shut each other down, and that's the mining game, right? Because sometimes you just can't purely rely on that sort of shield damage to take down it. You just want to sort of play the game. If you think that the Reinhardt is going to fire strike, maybe you can perhaps slip in an Earth Shatter, you know? And with the amount of just charges coming through as well, I mean, props to the supports as well, just making sure that their tanks are all topped up and they can walk forward and swing at their leisure.
Yeah, and of course we saw a lot of swinging. It definitely could have swung in the favor there at the end of the HSS Maroon. Titanium, I had to say, it was very much starting to warm up a little bit on that Genji towards the end of things. Of course, Dragon Blade's not quite hitting the mark he probably would have wanted, but still some strong picks from Titanium. Almost a game HSS could have won.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it does come down to the sort of transcendence issue again, right? Sort of baiting out that transcendence is so incredibly important when you're playing that Genji, because they had the Nano Blade there too. So that's a sort of timing you have to take into consideration sometimes, because Zen can be so powerful if he does have that ability up against the Dragon Blade. But props to both teams. That was quite entertaining for sure.
Yeah, quite entertaining. We've got plenty more entertainment coming up. That was Swiss round 3. We've still got a few more rounds to be played out. So, of course, don't go anywhere. And we'll be back very, very soon with more AEL High School Summer Series. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit of an extended pause. Hopefully you haven't fallen asleep at your desk. We're back with the AEL High School Summer Series powered by Acer Predator. And I can tell you what, we've had a little bit of time to breathe. Maybe you grab some snacks, of course, grab some water, and revitalize ourselves for our last round of the Swiss here. Because, you know, these teams, we thought it'd be 5 rounds, but they've decided for 4. It's running a little bit late, and everybody maybe wants to, you know, take an extended break, get off the PC, and just relax a bit, you know?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's a long day of Overwatch, and look, Overwatch can be a fun game, but I think over time, you know, can be quite stressful. You just need to relax, just sort of grab a beverage, chill a little bit. But I mean, look, regardless, with the action that we've seen, I can understand why that's sort of been the reaction. You know, everyone's been going full throttle. Yeah, it's been really, really fun so far. And all teams seem to be, when they're winning, like just looking at the bracket, they're winning hard. Yeah. So in terms of the results so far with the brackets, I mean, there's a lot of 2-0s, but sometimes with the 2-0s, it's close. Sometimes it's more of like one team just manages to find that style. But the good thing is, over time, maybe that can sort of change, you know, because first time going up against someone, you sort of, maybe if someone does something cheesy, you're caught off guard a little bit, like, oh, damn. I mean, you saw that Symmetra thing, right? So you're not going to get caught off guard twice like that ever again after that, let me tell you that, mate. But, you know, after you start feeling the momentum, start being familiar with people, start developing these rivalries, that's when some of the cooking can start happening.
Yeah, you gotta let them cook sometimes. And of course, speaking of letting them cook, we've got our match brewing. We're going to be seeing Emmanuel Gold back against, this time, Acer's Overwatch 1. Of course, we saw their sister team just previously, but now we get to see the number 1 team, and maybe number 1 in terms of the rivalry there for the sister teams as well.
Maybe, perhaps, yeah. Maybe it's like a seeding system, so like they battled it out to see which one would be called number 1, number 2. Yeah, it's having like internal scrims, it's having like a best of 5. Okay, whoever wins this, fellas, gets the better number.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe getting some prac in, getting some hard yards through, but it'll be interesting to see, because of course we've already seen Emmanuel Gold already, and of course they played a very, very close affair. I believe it was back in round 2 that we saw them, and you know, they played some very close games. Of course, a few small errors, but still nothing too worrying about for this Emmanuel Gold side.
Yeah, for sure, and I think this is sort of an opportunity as we get later into the brackets to sort of have that shot of redemption as well, because sometimes it's like those little decisions that can cost you a match, right? And sometimes, you know, maybe it was like a breakdown of communication, sometimes you just made like the wrong decision, sometimes you just need that experience where next game you play, you're like, that's what I should have done in this situation. So long as you can realize it, then that's what sort of makes a better player, that's what makes a better team, and that will make for some better matches, hopefully, too.
Yeah, and of course, well, these teams have been playing all day, well and ready and warmed up, I have to say. And of course, looking through the bracket, there's been some very convincing 2-0s, but of course, there's been a few cherry-picked, of course, closer games. We've seen some 2-1s, some 1-2s, of course, from a few of these sides. And, well, you kind of start to get a feel for some of these teams. Of course, they don't get the time to watch their oppositions, of course, because they're in the midst of their own Swiss round. But of course, it feels, as you said, they get some time to adjust some mistakes, you know, iron out some few kinks, of course, get some much needed time to revitalize what they want to do.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so sort of unique, right? The first time these sort of teams go up against each other in a season, it's sort of like maybe you're going a little bit more blind, but the more you get familiar with each other, the more like you have the opportunity to like watch the VODs and be like, this is what this team likes to do. This is the person we have to sort of be worried about. And you'll get some like aha moments, like, man, maybe we should have done this. So I think hindsight's a good thing, and especially for, you know, a young age as well, and like sort of realizing that and growing on it as well. That's like a really, really good trait to have, and that could like be the difference between like being, you know, losing and like being a champion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and of course, you know, this AEL High School Summer Series wouldn't be possible as well. There are sponsors, of course, Acer Australia, the presenting partner of the High School Summer Series, who provide PC technology solutions for all schooling needs in the classroom and at home. And, well, of course, we've got plenty of other sponsors as well. You can check out Acer at acer.com. Rack, of course, as well, Predator.
Yeah, Predator is amazing if you're wanting to amp up your gaming to that more high-end focused PC. So if you want to be have your desktop powered by Intel, and if you want some really serious computer action, then Predator, look no forward for that.
Yeah, and we got to say we love Predator. We love AOC as well, the proud monitor partner here for the AEL High School Summer Series. Get the best gaming experience with the AG275QXR. And of course, they provide world-class solutions in monitors for gaming and all other needs, of course. You know, not just our gaming-focused things, but of course, whether you're working, you're at home, you're of course in the office, ASC have got you covered.
And of course, the Game on Cancer charity is of course the charity of choice for this AEL, and a lot of the funds go towards the cancer project and helping the research and make sure that a lot of the student participation fees in this are going to a life-saving cause. So you can see you have the QR code there, and if you'd like to donate, go to the AEL Tiltify campaign page if you want to participate in such a worthy cause.
Yeah, of course, get involved. And again, a big shout out to all our sponsors here for the summer series. And Rack, our last match, and this is going to be an interesting one. Of course, we got to see Emmanuel Gold. They've taken some wins, they've taken some losses. They've definitely been around the block, and I'm curious to see how this Acer side go, because of course we saw their sister team do quite well in their game. So of course, maybe number one as well has got the same fire that number two did.
Yeah, quite possibly, right? I mean, similar names. I'm wondering if they actually like legitimately go against each other. That's always like a question, right? Because, you know, traditionally like sister teams, they do have like that advantage of like going up against each other, maybe testing out things, because like the beauty of play sometimes, if you're scrimming or if you're going up against people in constant competition, you can sort of be figured out a little bit, because, you know, once you go into like a competitive match, people will be like, oh, this is what they're going to play. But the beauty of having like a team that you can consistently go up against is sort of like, you know, we can hide some of this stuff so that once we get into the actual match, then it'll be a little bit more surprising. So maybe that's how, you know, the Symmetra thing, stuff like that, those sort of cheesy things that it's very difficult to practice in like a scrim, because once you sort of see it, then you're sort of prepared for it. So it's either those players theorize it sort of by themselves without actually playing it, so they do it like sort of off the cuff and they're like, all right, this is what we should do, fellas, or they like go up against someone that they know that they won't be going up against in like the actual tournament. So yeah, it's pretty interesting to see.
Yeah, and it's going to be an interesting one where we see our last map land, or last first map, sorry, because of course we've seen a variety of control maps. We've seen Lijiang Tower. We, of course, will probably be seeing Nepal, I hope. I believe that is the word of mouth that we will be getting Nepal as our first map here. And well, Rack, we've discussed a little bit during the break, and of course, Nepal, one of our fan favorites, I have to say.
Yes, Nepal is great. I think the map does have some variety, and I think there can be quite a bit of snowball potential, of course. I mean, the nature of Control, it's just very fast-paced. And I think with teams that may lack that sort of little bit of initial experience, once they fail that sort of first fight, then it might be a little bit difficult to come back into it. But I think like the beauty of this is that we've had a few matches under our belt already, right? So those little jitters are already out. So theoretically, we could be seeing like a little bit more competition with, you know, people getting those nerves out. And especially with Control, I mean, what better way to get your nerves out in such like a brawly game mode, right? That's when mechanics are shown, that's where sort of this initiative, this aggression, and Nepal really favors folks who really push those advantages, and I'm keen to see what happens.
Yeah, and of course, we got to see Emmanuel Gold earlier on in the afternoon. Curious to see what composition they'll be rocking with, whether they stick with the same stuff that they've been playing, or we see some new things. We've seen a bit of Genji hovered by, of course, I believe it was Titanium from one of the teams. And of course, we've seen definitely a lot of Reinhardt. Always keen to see that one. Bit of Diva, a little bit of focus, not too much towards dive, but more controlling the space with your Armadas, with your Reinhardts.
Yeah, I mean, that's really been the story so far, right? Sort of having this tempo type tank play rather than having like a full dive like everyone's sort of in. The most like dive-ish characters we've had, as you said, like Genji was one picked by Titanium, and we also have had like one Winston as well. So not like the most often picks here, but if you're willing to throw like a spanner into the works, if you're wanting to like sort of make your opponent not think as much, just sort of dive in on them, cause some pressure. And I mean, a lot of teams have been willing to experiment so far, right? We even had like a Zenyatta, which is something that like we haven't been seeing so much, but that Zenyatta pick, of course, very difficult to play, but especially up against a Genji, right? If you have that trance up for these fights, then it can be a lot easier for you to handle. So happy that these teams are experimenting. I really think sort of this Reinhardt-Ramatra matchup is very important though. And teams that do have like that Reinhardt, that have like the confidence, and teams willing to make sure that the Ramatra isn't shut down when he's trying to go up against the Ryan, right? Because the thing is with the Ramatra, he can be tough to deal with, but the thing is he has a really big hitbox. So if you're playing an Ana, it is incredibly easy to sleep Ramatra. It's incredibly easy to anti-heal him. So you may have this big boy throwing like those punches left, right at Reinhardt going through the shield, but he's also a really, really big target. So teams need to sort of watch out for that type of thing. And the battle of the tanks, especially with these matchups, has been really fun to watch. And yeah, we've seen a lot of really strong tank play so far.
Yeah, the tanks have definitely been something to highlight throughout this afternoon. And as well, I want to look at the supports here, because of course we get Nepal, and one of those maps on Nepal does have the opportunity for some environment kills. So of course maybe we'll see a Lucio in the mix, maybe we'll see some Pharahs too. Pharah very good at controlling on a map like Nepal, where of course environment is an issue, but of course as well the space that you want to take with a character like Pharah, you can really isolate some damage, do AoE to a lot of characters as well, but also as well curious to see how we go in the support department, because we've seen a few Mercies here or there falling out of favor a little bit towards the later stage of the afternoon. We've seen some more Annas, some more Lucios, of course a little bit more Moira as well, which is always a good pick for a map like Nepal, I'd have to say.
Yeah, for sure. I think Moira is like one of those tempo supports because she can get like her ult very, very quickly. So in these long drawn out fights, especially at the start where folks may not be going down as easy, she gets her coalesces really quickly. And then Reinhardt's just like, all right, just press that Q button, I'm going to walk forward and I'm going to swing my hammer. We can get like a quick, nice eco fight at the start to try and capture the point. And yeah, the support playstyle has been really interesting as well, because it's so different. You have like the Mercy who wants to sort of maybe pocket the fire, maybe pocket like the Cassidy or like the Soldier, sort of stay back. And then we've been having more of this more aggressive go in with the Lucio, speed boost, have that Reinhardt swing in. So a bit more of like a change of playstyles with the supports, I think. And that's sort of been like the main sort of difference, because I've been seeing the Moira, the Mercy, the Ana, the Lucio. So those, and we've been seeing a little bit of Bat, I believe, as well, sort of at the start of the afternoon. And those playstyles mean that the tanks have to play a little bit more differently. I mean, you know, fringe scenarios, I think a little bit earlier we did have like a Zen and Reinhardt combo, which isn't like the most common thing in the world, right? But if you can make it work, if the shoe fits, wear it. So whatever that team has is like an identity, whatever they feel comfortable with, bringing out their best firearms to try and help in this situation. It's very entertaining, and supports have been pretty diverse so far.
Yeah, supports definitely have been very diverse. I also want to dial it into Emmanuel more than the Aces one side that we haven't seen quite yet. Because Emmanuel, we've seen them play a very, very heartbreaking game there on Blizzard World, I believe, in their second map of their series. And it was very hard fought. Of course, suffered heartbreak at the hands of a Mei wall and a very, very nice Mei ultimate. But, well, for a team like Emmanuel Gold, do you feel they're going to bring that same brawl style that they were bringing to their round 2 opponents that we saw to this one?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, right? Because it sort of depends on how they think. Maybe they think that, okay, that didn't work, maybe we need to try something completely different. Or maybe they're like, okay, this is what we're best at, just continue doing what we're best at and see how it goes, you know, throughout the bracket. And it was quite close, because they did have like their sort of moments. I believe like the Mei was like a heavily contested pick throughout that sort of series there. And it's the nature with the matchup, right? Like Mei's a very volatile character. She can sort of turn the tides of fights for both good and bad. And when you just have someone who's like on a roll, that type of defensive character, especially on like the first point of Eichenwald, is very difficult to get through if someone just on that rhythm. So looks like we're going to be getting into the game, and we're all happy to get back into it. We're going to be on Nepal, don't forget, guys. So excited to get back into the action.
And it should be an exciting one. Of course, it is Acer's Overwatch 1 taking on Emmanuel Gold. And, well, hopefully Emmanuel Gold, they're looking for maybe that gold, of course, going later on down the line through our Swiss and into, of course, the playoffs. But they're going to get through Acer's Overwatch 1 here in round 4. And it is going to be Nepal. It is going to be that first map where, you know, it's a little bit closed in towards the point, but of course it is going to be control. You're after that high percentage, you're after taking that. And here we are, we get to see Emmanuel Gold. This is Overwatch 1.
Ready for battle.
Hovers, Brendan back on the Junkrat. And for Acer's Overwatch 1, they saw the Junkrats maybe, and they raised them 1 as well. But a Hanzo here for Acer's Overwatch 1.
Yeah, Hanzo, that's an interesting adaptation. I actually think Hanzo is sleeper really good into these Ryan matchups because, one, he gets through the shield very easily with his E, so that's the thing that increases his attack speed, and also his ultimate is really good at getting through and making sure that it's more difficult for Ryan to walk forward. So a good way to zone off opponents. And speaking of zoning, yeah, as you said, this Junkrat pick going to be quite spicy for this one as well, but you know, keep an eye on that Hanzo to see if there are any picks at the start.
Yeah, and of course as well, to touch on Hanzo's ultimate being quite an oppressive space tool as well. You can use that to clear out a hallway, clear out a control point as well. You can see some early damage being traded back and forth. Waffle trying to get that sleep dart off, not quite able to hit it, and needs to heal up his Hanzo as well. Caustic Germ, the player we got to see in round 2 of the Swiss, and very aggressive Ryan, I have to say. Likes to get in the fray, likes to swing that hammer and get the damage down, and, well, we'll be able to take out Minty. Dead Ace 2 also going to fall. Looking for the Hanzo with the back line, and they will be able to secure the point without a contestation.
There we go, great job there, and having a win on the first sort of fight on Nepal is very advantageous, especially with the nature of this comp, because when you have defensive characters like this, having the Junkrat, having the Mei, sort of the hardest part is getting on, right? But once you have that point, it becomes so much easier because they're defensive characters, so they just want to try and secure this choke right now. Hover those Junkrat bombs over, they still have the Mei wall as well, and see if they can take advantage of it.
And you can see on the high ground though, Brandon, great spot to play this Junkrat. Use pepper nades down onto the opposition. There's nothing they can do. Caustic Germ charged through with the pin, and it's going to take out Waffle. Swing versus swing, Fire Strike lands, and it is all Emmanuel Gold to start this one off, all over it with a team kill. Not having to burn all too many ultimates either. I believe the Shatter from Caustic Germ, and that was it.
That is true, yeah, and it is very useful not to burn so many ultimates. I think they might have used the Coalescence too, but you know, it's a low economic ultimate, so it doesn't really matter too much there. But I think the Junkrat Riptide is going to be very important. We've seen how much impact this has had already throughout the day, so both the Junkrats do have that available, so both teams need to keep an eye out to see if they can eliminate that tire before it ends up exploding.
Yeah, ooh, that is a good tire. There you go, sniping out the healers, taking out Circuit though. With the orb will be the Moira. You can see though still Emmanuel Gold holding strong. The Riptide is available for Brandon. He's looking to rip it here, but Aces won. They will cap the point. This tire is going to be huge
oh
though.
My god.
And there it is, another double expected now of this high school cup. That tire, once it's placed, at least gets more than one.
That was extremely risky there from Brandon. Basically in a 1v5 scenario, using the Riptide and diving into the backline, and that timing ends up actually winning them the point there. As Emmanuel Gold, they weren't too far off, and I think that distraction of trying to deal with the Junkrat in the backline manages to snag them that point in the end too. But what an incredibly risky and brave play that ends up helping them to get back onto the point here.
You can see that Moira Orb as well, dishing out a bit of damage to the Mei wall. Actually getting in the way, the Hanzo can't do anything about it, and here comes the Mei Orb. The ultimate stops the Ryan from going in with that shadow. It was a good shadow, but it doesn't matter when you're frozen in place and stuck and dead to Remy, who's going off a treat with this Mei, I have to say. Emmanuel Gold made quick work at the first point.
Yeah, they did very well there, right? And that's exactly what they want to do with that comp. With those characters, they want to make sure that they're on the point consistently. And as I said, the difficult part is sort of getting back onto the point when you have so many defensive characters, right? But Brendan, thinking on their feet in that situation with the flank Riptide, sort of made that weakness less apparent. They made it so much easier to get back onto that flank. So creative way of dealing with this so far, and looks like we are on the Buperino map. So as we're descending into down there, maybe we're going to have a few slippery slides, slippery slopes. Any Lucios? Looks like Dead Ace is hovering over it. I like to see it. So definitely a possibility.
Yeah, definitely nothing short of a possibility. Dead Ace to the Lucio, and Mincy back to the Ryan. I have to say, Emmanuel Gold very much in control of that first one, but this is where it gets interesting with the bringing the Lucio to the table. Can look for some environmental kills here with the boot. Waffle trying to keep Circuit healthy, but Circuit's up in the fray and a little bit aggressive. Brandon to the back line, and nobody knows he's here, and nobody's even turning to look to him. Brandon just walking all over it. Satchel on top of Mincy, and that's first point capped straight away. 10 seconds flat.
And this flank with the Junkrat once again is just catching Aces off guard there, so I need to really keep tabs on this fella and maybe having the Hanzo information to help them out of this, because Brandon's being very creative with this Junkrat so far. Let's see if they can push through here without taking too much damage, but Brandon once again gets the pick at the start.
He just pick after pick, nobody seems to be ready for it, and sniping out a healer that weakens the side of Aces 1 before they're even able to get in. Of course, they can't heal up any of the damage, they're just going to take it, and they're just going to be taken out. Emmanuel Gold already at 30%, and well, they're still trying to fight for this point. A few Hanzo shots coming out, trying to hit that one onto the Mave, but can't quite hit it. Rapid fire, not going to hit it either. Remy snipes out the Drifter, and it is 40% already Emmanuel Gold, and I have to say, Brandon is playing this one so well.
Yeah, so I mean, it helps when you get the picks at the start of these fights, especially up against a sniper on the opposition. The fact that you're getting the pick is so incredibly valuable, and it looks like Circuit tries to go in for a little bit of a flank of his own, but they read it immediately. Brendan nearly has that Junkrat available, just hiding in between the cover, trying to defend against the Aces here, and the ward doesn't coming out, so the pin immediately straight afterwards, looking to get forward here. Emmanuel Gold on the aggression, and the anti-heal does come out too, so doing a great job with that May wall there to take advantage of it.
Yeah, and Aces 1, they need to start to move. It's 75%, and Remy's just up in the face. Does have the ultimate available, will toss it out, and nobody's able to block it. And it is going to be Emmanuel Gold just running through, taking these picks and taking them as they come up to 85. And Aces 1, they've already lost 3 members. And they need to revive quickly. They need to get in. They need that Lucio back, maybe just to get to the point. But Aces 1, they've had their number called time and time again by Emmanuel Gold, and this time it's Azriel getting up in the mix. Of course, Germ to throw the shatter just to stall and to close it out in quick fashion. Here on map number 1, Emmanuel Gold clean sweeping the pool.
Yeah, wow, that was a fantastic performance there from Emmanuel Gold, and Brandon really standing out with that Junkrat and being very creative. And there we go, the play of the game on the Junkrat as well. How's it going to work out here? Another flank onto the Ana. Yeah, there we go.
That was a good satchel. I have to say, very, very well placed satchels here from Brandon. Normally you just see Junkrats hold mouse 1, and that's kind of where they get those play of the games, but or the Riptire even. But of course, some great satchel placement and great satchel spacing from Brandon, I have to say. Yeah,
it was a really great performance on the Junkrat, and it just shows sometimes with these type of picks, you don't really need to play stock standard all the time in terms of like how you play the actual character. Like most people think of Junkrat as sort of like this defensive character. Maybe you can go a little bit cheeky now and again, like go off to the side and trying to get a one shot, but Brendan was legitimately going for the flank a lot of these fights, right? And sort of how he played it in the previous series before, getting a massive amount of value off the Riptire. But I think once these sort of flanks are scouted, once this sort of like you understand where he may be coming from, things may be a little bit easier. But especially on the PAL, I think that could be a pretty decent map to try and get different angles and stuff like that. So did a very good job. And this combo of like the May, the Junkrat, and the Ryan can be quite deadly, right? Because if the enemy main tank mispositions, all of a sudden you have a wall behind you. All of a sudden, you know, you're going to be bursted down by this Junkrat who's right next to you. And it's really tough to play against. So you need to sort of find those gaps where, okay, wall is down. I'll try to bait it out, you know, maybe have someone walk forward, then slide back and make sure that they don't have it available for the next fight. So, yeah, I mean, these type of picks, they're very explosive when you first see them, right? But they're not going to be typically the strongest as time goes on. But that impact, that surprise factor, can be very, very tough to deal with early on.
Yeah, no, I also have to give credit, of course, we're singing our praises about Brandon, but Remy on the May as well, I have to say. Definitely some great spacing and some great util placement with that ultimate. We saw every time it was up, it had a massive impact. There was nothing really the Aces one side could do against that May ultimate. And, well, a credit to Emmanuel Gold playing together and playing on the same page, using that May, using that Junkrat to isolate those picks to start those fights off before they even begun.
And the way the format goes, we're going to be going into a hybrid next, right, as well. So interesting how this will work, because Emmanuel have been tending to go for that sort of more like defensive type comp. So if they get like the first defense, they might sort of have a little bit of tempo coming into it, because of just like the nature of their picks. They tend to go for like these more defensive picks. But the thing is, right, you think, oh, Junkrat is obviously like better in defense in this scenario, but the way that Brendan plays it, he plays it in a different type of way because he wants to access those flanks. So you need to be careful sometimes when trying to go up against someone who's so like funky with those flanks. But I mean, it depends on the map as well, right? So some maps are a little bit stock standard, with maybe there's like one place, so you don't really have to look out too much. But yeah, I mean, especially with Ace needing to get those picks, I feel like if you have that Hanzo, you really want to be getting those picks at the start of the fight, right? And you mentioned the May having a tremendous impact. And I think even believe with the last series that we saw Emmanuel's with as well, Rem was just great with sniping people with the right click. And against like Hanzo, that's not an easy matchup for May at all, you know what I mean? Like, because of the spacing, she has to be really careful with those one-shots. So yeah, I mean, it's really been a great performance so far. And time will tell to see if it can translate onto the hybrid too.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see where we go for hybrid, but of course, as well, we spoke a bit about the Hanzo pick, and unfortunately we didn't quite get to see any of the dragon come across there from the Driftler. Couldn't quite charge that ultimate up before, you know, it was already done and dusted for Emmanuel Gold, so maybe they put that one in the back pocket for a rainy day. The Hanzo didn't quite really have its mark there. Going into this hybrid map, I'm curious to see what they swap with that Hanzo to, whether we kind of see a little bit more stock standard like your Pharah, or maybe we see a little bit more dive. They get aggressive, they get in the face of Emmanuel Gold early with like a Genji.
Yeah, it's true. I think in those type of situations, maybe you just try something different, right? So I think maybe you want to end the fights a little bit quicker, maybe play some like dive and just sort of engage and just say, okay, we're just going to try and get ults. We're going to have a big ult, just try and settle things quickly and see if that ends up working out. But yeah, it's dependent on the team, because, you know, Genji is one of those characters not everyone can play him, because just how different he is to the rest of the cast, you know. And with a different amount of like tanks, Winston, Reinhardt, very, very different in how they play, like Doom. Dive tanks are very, very different to like the type of playstyle I've been seeing so far.
Yeah, there's a lot of dive, but of course there's a lot more control going on with these players and teams. And it's going to be interesting as well, of course, what hybrid map we see will definitely dictate what style we probably will see out of both of these teams. Of course, Emmanuel Gold, I imagine they'll stick to the Reinhardt. I don't see them really changing off that all too much. We haven't seen, of course, their Ryan player swap it up too much. Of course, from their round 2 game to now. Whether we see Remy back on the May, or we might see something different. We saw, I think, a Soldier hover occasionally in their round 2 game, but there's a lot of flexibility on this Emmanuel Gold roster, I have to say.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Ryan is a pretty flexible character. And speaking of Ryan, we are going to be on Archenwald next, which is a pretty good Ryan map too, right? So it's something, especially for that first point hold, is very, very good because of the nature of like how big his shield is. It's a classical sort of Ryan map because you can get like a huge shatter too. So yeah, Eichenwald is a very, very strong map for that type of defensive style.
And a great map for Junkrat too. Brandon, I imagine, will be gritting his teeth with that one. Eichenwald, especially on the defense, you can hold pretty well, but as well the attack, you just spam nades down that choke. really, really hard to hold against and, well, deny some damage, especially if you don't have a Ryan of your own. So whether we see, of course, the other team look to play higher on the bridge, or maybe we see them in that choke, they're going to have to deal with Brennan's Junkrat, I definitely feel.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an MVP performance of that Junkrat so far, so we'll see how that ends up going. And I guess maybe if you're having so much trouble with this Junkrat, the Pharmacy could also be a very good option, right? A Widowmaker, trying to think of something that sort of can deal with it from afar, right? Because you don't necessarily want to be close to a Mei, you don't want to be close to a Junkrat, so playing a different sort of playstyle, because it's going to be very difficult for a Rem to sort of deal with that Pharmacy by themselves, right? I mean, unless they sort of have like a Discord or damage boost, and is very, very sharp with those right clicks, it's going to be very difficult to take that out. But, you know, again, Fire is one of those characters that you sort of need to know what you're doing in a lot of these situations and trying to deal with the enemy. It's sort of like not the plug and play type pick. But we'll see if any of those adaptations are there.
And it should be an interesting one. We've just gotten word, of course, that it will be a 4v5 for this last one. And, well, that's an unfortunate thing to hear, but unfortunately, these things do happen, tech issues and such. Eichenwald, I feel a little bit harder to hold, especially if you're in that 4v5 scenario. As soon as a pick happens, it's bound to snowball. If you're an attack going through that choke, you can split off to the left, you can split off to the right, and really, really overwhelm the point from there. So this is going to be up to how this 4-side play, especially starting off on the attack or the defense.
It will be quite interesting indeed, and I suppose let's see how things can be managed. Of course, 4v5 is going to be quite a bit more difficult, but it's in the spirit of the game. They're continuing to trek along and are battling it out. So Emmanuel Gold, they're going to be on the attack first, and they're just tried and true to who they are, really. Very, very similar comp. They've sort of added in this Zenyatta as well, so a little bit of a funky pick there, but see how that ends up working out for them. And Aces, they're just trying to sort of have as much firepower initially right on this first point. Sigma is going to be a good character to get that one shot, but up against the Reinhardt could be quite tough. But the Hanzo there with the sniper trying to get a pick as well, or the bow I should say. See how that ends up working out for them.
Yeah, and I like this pick from Acer with the Zen, of course, as we said, very choke-heavy map to start off here. And we can see the Sigma is just going to go for a drop-in flank, but immediately Emmanuel Gold, they answer that, they turn and burn, they see the Sigma, and they will raise and take him out. And 2 members down here for Aces 1 already. Minty needs to go absolutely gargantuan to try and hold this point on. He can't really do anything about it. Where is Dead Ace? It's a good question. But of course, Emmanuel Gold, the captain, and they will start to push the payload. Dead Ace, he's flying over the top. He's looking for a little bit of damage, but it's kind of that unfortunate thing. He kind of just wants to give his life up, respawn as quick as possible, maybe swap to the Mercy that has a little bit more output on the healing as well. The Driftler trying to get in and stall for time. Emmanuel Gold, though, well oiled machine that they are, looking to push this payload already through the gates.
Yep, they are looking definitely quite comfortable here. Aces is trying to, do what they can, just playing relentlessly aggressive to see what sticks there. But yeah, Emmanuel Gold. I mean, this is something that they're very used to with this comp, right? This is something that they're quite familiar with. Of course, the Zen is probably the most unusual pick out of this all, but Aces are definitely trying to get some picks for that Hanzo on the high ground. They're doing a decent amount of damage, but being eliminated by the crafty person that Brendan is on the Junkrat.
Yeah, very, very crafty, and, well, already towards halfway, it feels. Emmanuel Gold, of course, nothing really he can do to stop it unless this big flank comes in from Circuit and from Mincy. Reaper, very good at getting that close range, able to shift up, try and take out the Ana, but of course the shot's not quite landing right now. The Zen going close range for it, but it's Brandon to find it with the Junkrat. And, well, we expected to see a swap up off the Lucio. It will be the Moira, a little bit more healing output and a little bit more flexibility in the contestation here, because that's what Aces 1 seem to be doing, just throwing themselves in the cart, trying to stall for time.
Yeah, that's really all they can do in this scenario. See how they can try and adapt to this, and looks like they're going for more of like a very, very risky playstyle, but with the nature of the situation, right? It's a pretty good call. Having the Widowmaker and the Zen looking to maybe get that pick at the start to truly make it a 4v4.
Oh,
But there we go, there's Zenyatta proving to be very sharp, having a tool up their sleeves in that regard. Nano Boost has been proc, still has the Riptide available too. So many ultimates here for Manual Gold. Going to be tough for Aces.
no, I meant to get taken out by the tire. It's a moment like that where you really feel for Aces 1. The Tranquility pops, all tossed up in the air, but it doesn't matter. Nobody's taking damage. Circuit's pushed off, and round 1 already complete. You feel for a player. You feel for the players on Aces 1, but you also feel for Asriel. That is a moment of brilliance that always happens sometimes when you're playing the Zenyatta. You get the stars aligning, and you hit a dirty lineup with the orbs. And, well, that was a quick one. Aces 1. Now, looking to this defense, and, oh, sorry, to this attack. And for Emmanuel Gold, you feel it just gets a little bit easier with how they've got a man advantage here. And Aces 1, props to them. They had some chances there, but of course, kind of just the nature of the scenario with how Emmanuel Gold have been playing this series so far.
Yeah, it's the nature of how it goes, and with the defensive way of this map as well, probably leans itself towards Emmanuel Gold. And looks like we're going to have a pause momentarily just for a little bit, just to check something out. But yeah, we should end up getting back into the game reasonably soon, so it wouldn't be the longest pause, so don't worry about that. And yeah, I mean, it's been quite fun. I think Eichenwald is one of my favorite maps, actually, personally too. I think it was one of like the first released maps like after the initial wave for like Overwatch 1. But yeah, I mean, obviously the 4v5 scenario isn't the best thing in the world, but you know, props to the team to continuing to move forward and fight with that disadvantage. But nature of the competition sometimes, and it just happens. But yeah, I mean, either way, I think Emmanuel have been very consistent throughout this tournament with their picks, and I think it's like the prime example of like sticking to what's best for you. Sticking like to your characters that you're really comfortable with, right? Because sometimes people have this debate, right, where it's sort of like, would you rather be flexible or would you rather be like really good at one thing? And they have shown a little bit of flexibility, but like especially with their DPS and their tanks, that sort of like core, that trio, they really like to stick to that sort of fundamental like Mei, Junkrat, Reinhardt. That's like a pretty strong core. And it's difficult to deal with if you're not used to it, because it's pretty cheesy, a lot of damage. You need to be careful of the wall. You need to make sure to sort of, you know, track the cooldowns. And if you're a little bit new up against that type of thing, could be quite difficult. But either way, it's really fun to watch, in my opinion, too. You know, because Mei is one of those characters where sometimes you see a lot of her, and then she like disappears off the face of the earth for quite a bit. So she resurfaces now and again, especially when Ryan finds himself in the meta too.
Yeah, it's always good to see Ryan and Mei paired together. And of course, it's always interesting to see whether you're a jack of trades or a master of none. But of course, I feel for a team like Aces 1 here, really interesting that they're having to play this one out 4v5. Maybe you go to the Fire of Mercy and hopefully that gets you through the swing of things. But we're back, Emmanuel Gold versus Aces 1, and well, Emmanuel Gold, they're on the attack. They only need just that little bit to really walk home with the victory. And well, for Aces 1, they're gonna have to hold strong here. Double DPS with the Mercy, and of course Circuit onto the Ryan. It's gonna be an interesting one, whether we see the Drifter get this first pick.
5, 4.
Well, that's going to be the key, right? This Widowmaker is definitely going to be the most important pick for this comp, because it's really your key to making sure that it could be like the fairest fight possible, right? So you definitely want to be looking for those aggressive picks. You do have the grapple shot, right, to go up in the sky and maybe scout them out. But otherwise, of course, it's going to be definitely a tall task.
And of course, you can see just in the face, Emmanuel Gold playing with the man advantage, knowing that they've got, well, 3 minutes to burn, and they just have to get kill after kill in quick succession. You see, though, maybe the Widowmaker not the best pick here for this kind of choke push that they're trying to go for. You can see Griffler definitely identified that, gets slept straight away, Dead Ace taken out, and like, looking to maybe swap off. Minty had some good shots in, but of course, double healer on top of the Mei, it's hard to deal with.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And they're trying to really push that advantage. And yeah, Widowmaker is a little bit difficult in this situation if you don't have that sort of space. So even then, yeah, you can potentially get that one shot, but you're going to really be having to do something so incredibly aggressive for you to get the space needed to get that one shot as well, right? So it is very, very difficult, but see how this sort of strat is working, trying to go behind Circuit with the flank line. And you know, surprisingly enough, Circuit actually was the first one in the game to get ultimate as well, so it does have the Earth Shatter available, but the Zen is popping off with those orbs.
Yeah, getting up to 85 to the Tranquility, and well, anyone for Brandon on the tire. It was interesting to see Brandon kind of threw his life at the side of Aces 1, and that's, well, where they tried to find that push there, and catching it with a great shatter there, pings the Ryan, not the Ana. And now this is where Emmanuel Gold have to make their stand back. Dead Ace is taken out, the healer's gone, and all of a sudden it's just a Widow and right click, lines up to the stars yet again for Azrael, and Emmanuel Gold with a team kill, burning that push down, and well, only having to use the shatter in the fray.
Yeah, it was a pretty decent shatter as well, but they managed to get the block on it so that Ana didn't end up getting the charge down there. And it's really useful to get the shatter on the Ana, right? Because it doesn't mean you have to face the anti-heal or the sleep straight afterwards, but Circuit does end up getting a pick with a charge, but immediately punished straight afterwards. It's sort of the difficulty when you're playing Reinhardt in the situation with only one healer. You can go for that charge, but straight afterwards you're going to be punished in that situation.
And you can see a bit of sportsmanship though, the well played for Astriel on the spray there on the wall. You can still see though Emmanuel Gold putting this pressure on, not letting it drop at all. Minty though is getting pocketed by this Mercy, so they'll get some big damage out, but Brendan in, and you can see again getting swept aside once again. Only a minute left. Aces 1. They do have the Valkyrie and they do have the Death Blossom, so quick little TP from Minty couldn't go awry.
We've seen a few good Death Blossoms today already. Could Minty be one of those fellas? I can get another big one too. Have to be a pretty good Death Blossom to eliminate the opposition of Emmanuel Gold, because they do have the Transcendence as well. Looks like there's a bit of a flank on the other side, trying to be a little bit cheeky here.
They're trying to catch him off guard with the Nano. They're going to be hitting the Earth Shatter as well. Tranquility and everything. Emmanuel Gold have all the room to work with. They've turned and burned. 10 seconds left for Aces 1 to get to that point. Well, Emmanuel Gold will be walking home the victors here, and oh, beautiful fire strike.
Wow.
Well, that's not going to do all too much in the end of things. Aces 1 couldn't get out of their spawn at the end. Emmanuel Gold, it's just the nature of how it goes. 5v4 are going to be closing that second one off.
There we go. What gets player of the game? There we go. There's Zenyatta. That is a highlight. Yes, let's see it.
Could be the right click, surely. Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
There we go. There we go. The Widow one.
Pretty standard. Pretty standard, of course. A props to the Aces 1 side playing that one out. You feel for them in a 4v5. The mental's not great. And of course, especially the last game of the afternoon, you don't want to see that's the way it goes. But, well, for Emmanuel Gold, getting a much-needed win to their board, securing themselves a higher seeding going into the groups.
Yeah, for sure. They definitely like that they got the win there, and they started off quite strong as well. But, yeah, I mean, it's been very fun throughout all of these matches, and I think over time, a lot of these teams are going to be much more competitive once they get a feel for each other in that situation. And, yeah, I just like the different sort of styles I've been seeing, you know, especially with Overwatch. Overwatch has usually, for the most part, been a pretty fast-paced game. A lot of the metas have been more on like the quicker side, but teams tend to be going a little bit slower right now. This sort of Reinhardt playstyle and different deviations of it, as well as different supports. It's not like in Overwatch 1 where like the GOAT thing was there and everyone was sort of playing like the same thing all the time. You know, it's just mirror matchups. both of these like sort of teams are coming out with different styles, and I think that's the cool like narrative part, because you can be like, oh, what's this Junkrat like May team going to do up against someone who is completely different, and they're trying to be a little bit more offensive. But I mean, just in the way that people are playing things, like Brennan is like the easy example, and character of Junkrat is considered to be like a bit more defensive. Just hold a choke, just stay there, plop your bombs over there, and nope, just a massive amount of flanks, and can definitely has caught a lot of people off guard. Very entertaining, to say the least.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of different things, and I guess that's to credit Blizzard overall. Of course, 6 instead of 5 instead of 6 now, and that's where the diversity opens up in the picks. Of course, you're not role locked to the 2-2-2 or even the 4-2. Of course, when we saw the Slambulance, I believe the Moria Lucio is always a fun one to see. But of course, a very interesting game and a very interesting way to wrap up our afternoon. And of course, we want to quickly shout out our lovely sponsors for the AEL High School Summer Series. So, of course, we'll rattle them off for you. Acer Australia, the presenting partner of the High School Summer Series, who provide PC technology solutions for all schooling needs in the classroom or at home. Acer have you covered. Of course, gear up today at acer.com. But as well, Rack, we've got Predator too.
If you're wanting to upgrade to a very good gaming PC, Predator is fantastic. They provide high-end gaming-focused PC solutions for laptops and desktops, and they're powered by Intel. They're fantastic.
Powered by Intel and fantastic. We've also got AOC, the gaming monitor partner, who provide the best-in-class monitor solutions for gaming and all other needs, whether you're at home, at the office, you need a monitor, AOC have you covered. Get the best gaming experience with AOC today.
Of course, we have the Game on Cancer charity, which is the choice of AEL, who helps with the funding of the cancer research with the projects that they're in, with donating a portion of the student participation fees to the life-saving cause. And make sure to check the campaign page of AEL Tiltify, and also you have the QR code that is currently on screen now, which is a proud partner and supporting a fantastic cause.
Supporting a fantastic cause indeed. And well, Rack, it has been an interesting afternoon. We've seen some crazy sweeps, we've seen some crazy plays, we've seen some crazy diversity, and of course we want to take a quick look at the schedule before we wrap it up here. Of course, week 1 done and dusted. Our round of Swiss is gone out of the way. We move on to week 2, and where it gets all exciting on the 18th of March, just next weekend. Catch us back here on the AU Esports League as we, of course, wrap it up. Any final words, Rack?
Thank you, everyone, for joining. It has been fantastic. To the players, make sure to keep on working hard, having fun, really good games. Keep it up for the next week. And yeah, thank you for everyone watching at home, and take care of yourselves, everyone, and really appreciate it.